Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla. Take guard, man the barricades, patrol the covered boundary. At last the time has come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than rev counters and a slice of cake. At first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act, but people like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pascoe, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away, and we will not be caught. Would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket.
A beautiful first day in Port Elizabeth has given way to a spot of rain this morning and a slight delay. But it shouldn't detract from a potentially mouth-watering few hours at St George's. England are 224 for 4 and the pitch is taking spin, big spin. All the more reason for Ollie Pope and Ben Stokes to push on and build a foundation. Good morning, good afternoon, good dawn, good dusk, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Guerrilla Cricket. I'm Gorilla Hendo, Nigel Henderson, and I'm here to bring you day 2 from Port Elizabeth in the company of wonderful people, wonderful people. On my right I have Jason G. Hiscox. He has been following orders and has gone into the jingles chair. And on my left, back by popular demand, she's a friend to celebs all around the world. She's promising to do us a Bond girl dance. It's the wonderful Annie Chave!
I'm not promising to do a James Bond dance. You were trying to make me.
Oh, okay. I knew something. There was something going on in that respect. Yes, indeed. There has been a little bit of rain this morning, so that's why we are delayed until, well, 10:45 British time. But we should be underway fairly shortly. And it was a strange day yesterday, wasn't it? England was slow, and we've asked England to bat that way. We said crease occupation. We need a little bit more of that. But they maybe went too far that way, and then suddenly found themselves losing wickets 140 odd for 4 after being 70 for none. And then a lovely little partnership at the end, I thought. Really probably the best batting of the day in one respect, the most attractive batting of the day, with Ollie Pope and Ben Stokes looking like they were $1 million. Jason, how do you see the day panning out?
I think it was a proper test match. It was a contest at every stage. I mean, in the first session, the openers had to withstand, not particularly attacking or threatening bowling, certainly in the first session and the first spells, and the decision to not start with Rabada. I mean, it's been explained, but it's still not quite sure.
What was the explanation? I didn't see that.
The explanation was Dane Patterson was going to bowl a fuller length, and they wanted to see if the ball would swing.
And it's strange because we were talking about, although it was a very clear day, it was 70% humidity, but it barely swung off the straight all day. It was extraordinary in that respect. We think there might be a little bit more swing today. There's a bit more cloud cover, obviously with the rain, and also the humidity has gone up slightly to 75%. But
I think it was still 50-50 at the end of it, because 2 wickets this morning in short order, and that can very possibly happen.
But we have seen spin, haven't we? And according to the stats this morning coming out of CricViz, the left armer, Maharaj, was getting an average of 5.6 degrees. I'm not quite sure what that means, actually, without sort of having the protractor out and putting it on the telly. Whereas normally in South Africa, he only gets a deviation of 1.5 degrees. So I'm not sure what that means, whether it's like the Richter scale and it goes up in strange sort of steps, or whether it having a 5.8 degrees deviation is much more than 1.5. Anyway, we shall see. The teams are out there. Henrik Nortje has collapsed onto his back and is doing a few limbering up exercises. We shall jingle up the protagonists. Ollie Pope is up there, Ben Stokes is out there, and England resume on 2:24 for 4.
It's the bowler first.
If your number one project is to have yourself a bride, I think I've got to your number one guy. He was bought by a franchise when he was buying meat. It's Henrik Nortje.
We'll be bowling 2.
I got out Ben Stokes, and he called me a
well, we know where we go with that jingle, don't we? 2 slips in a gully, in comes Nortje, onto the back foot goes Ben Stokes to a ball slightly back of a length outside the off stump, defends up to mid-off, and there is no run, just 86 miles an hour.
And he called me up, said he'd punch my said I made him. The arm looked up and said, "You angry redhead, you'll get fined again."
In comes Henrik Nortje to the angry redhead, who props forward very calmly in defence and plays into the covers. We've got an angry redhead at one end, we've got a very calm young redhead at the other end. That's Ollie Pope. The place is festooned with red-headed people.
Can't get away from them.
Can't get away from them. If you could have Johnny Bairstow instead of Joss Butler, you'd have a lovely middle order of gingerness in there, which would be absolutely great. Now, Annie is on your tweets. Treat her gently. She hasn't been here for a while. Go easy on her.
No rude words.
No rude words, because she's, she's a tender soul. 2:24 for 4. The Barmy Army is singing. Oh, hang on, look, there's 2 people in similar sort of ethnic dress there, isn't there? That's quite nice, isn't it? Is that a man and his wife dressed in the same?
I think it is.
I think
yes.
it may be. Well, they may be together.
Yeah.
Or it's a terrible coincidence to find themselves. Oh, you've got the same shirt on. Damn it!
How embarrassing.
How embarrassing. And the Port Elizabeth band. Well, I think actually that's the Barmy Army band, but there is a Port Elizabeth band.
Yes, there's a brass band, isn't there?
There's a brass band, yes, that plays throughout the day. Trying to outdo Billy Cooper on the trumpet for the Barmy Army, or the Silly Military, as Roger calls them. And Ben Stokes settles down. I shall tell you about a special guest we've got in today as well, very shortly, as Nortje is in again, fullish ball, and propping forward. What an immaculate defensive technique from Stokes, pushing up to mid-off, and there is no run. He really is technically glorious to watch, Ben Stokes, despite the, you rarely see this combination of a man who can attack so well and so
I think he's
viciously
grown
and
grown in the last. Well, he obviously has grown.
Yes.
But in the last year or so, he's.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'd say more than that, really. I mean, he was playing some great little knocks, wasn't he, back in the series against India, as I recall, in 2017. I think we were writing about that.
Learned
18,
to play the match situation a lot better.
Brilliantly. He turns this one into the onside. There's a wide open space. No one apart from a mid-on and a deep square leg. That's Maharaj, who comes in off the fence to field, and it's first run of the morning, 225 for 4, and now we shall jingle up the calmer redhead of the two. Just having a look round at the field, and he settles down. Nope, he's not quite ready, or maybe there's a change being made in the field. I think there is. There's a man coming in from deep square leg to a more orthodox position closer to the umpire, and we have just the one slip and a gully, a man out to deep backward point, extra cover mid-off, mid-on, shortish mid-wicket and a long leg. Nortje is in, bowls to Pope and wraps him high up on the thigh as the ball is angled into him. The ball drops out into the offside, and there is no run. 87 miles an hour. Yes, our special guest today is Paul Smith. You will have heard Paul, former Warwickshire player, all-rounder, talking to Tony in one of our recent podcasts, and he has kindly got on the late coach from Birmingham to be here for you to engage with and listen to. He had lots of things to talk about, and he'll be on with Tony in the second session of the morning. Onto the back foot goes Pope and directs this up to mid-on, where Philander fields, and there is no run. That's the end of the first over of the morning. England have added a single. They're 225 for 4, and there may be just one or two people who have joined us on the Twitter sphere. Annie.
Hello, Martin Lawrence.
Hello,
he says he's it's looking like some rain most of the game. Draw for the game in Port Elizabeth is my prediction.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's going out on a limb a little bit, isn't it?
Mogg says, yes, I'm ready for more Test cricket featuring two teams in which I am most certainly invested. And he says, if it's not Annie, who is going to do the dance? I hope it's not the bear.
Well, we have talked about the bear. We did discuss the bear. We thought that would be quite entertaining. Anyway, opening the bowling this morning, unlike yesterday and unlike with the new ball last night, it is to be this man.
He's a high roller, rock and roller, scariest, deadliest, killing this bowler. He can sink your oats like the Spanish Armada. No one faster, no one harder. What's his name? What's his name? Tell me, what's his name? KG.
And he has the ball in his hand. He's going to come round the wicket to the left-handed Stokes. 2 slips and a gully. He's in full, and he drives that powerfully. Really punched that, but straight up to Philander at mid-off. And there is no run. Rabada has 2 for 48 from his 17 overs yesterday. Talk that he may be having to go in front of the beak, the match referee.
For his celebration.
After getting Joe Root yesterday. Well, it was quite an over-the-eye-popping celebration, it has to be said. It was done right next to Root, but he wasn't sort of looking into his face in an intimidatory way. Again, nicely punched to extra cover by Stokes, but not past or either side of the fielder. There is no run.
I do wonder about all these penalties that they give out. They do seem to be very inconsistent.
I know why, because poor old Joss. Poor old Joss got done, didn't he, for calling Philander an effing knobhead.
I can't believe it.
It's just an observation, isn't it? I mean, to be honest. I didn't understand why he'd called him that. Rabada, slightly shorter of length this time, but very straight, and Stokes gets in behind it.
We don't know what Philander said to him.
Well, no, apparently it was he got in the way of him, didn't he, as the ball was coming in or something from the boundary, and sort of smirked slightly. That's what I heard. I didn't see it at the time. But it's kind of quite pale, isn't it? It's not really vicious, effing knobhead.
Yeah, but it's on the mic, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not, you have to accept this. If you're going to have stump mics, then you're going to hear one or two things you don't want to hear.
No, you can't say fucking knobhead on the mic like we
Well,
just have.
Sky need to, have the courage of their convictions. If they want the stump mic, then they have to put up with it. This is, again, punched very nicely. Looks in good touch, Ben Stokes, this morning, which will probably be the death knell for him. So this one goes up to mid-on, and there is no run.
Yes, well, I think it's not only the players. The players want the stump mics down, but the umpires and the want them up because they want to have the snicks.
Oh, yes. I suppose that's, that's a
Heard
problem.
on the snickometer.
So you've got to watch your language around the stumps then, really.
I mean, to be honest, Rabada in again. This time left, a foolish ball outside the off stump, foot wide of the off stump this time. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be fined just for swearing. I understand it if you're offensive to someone. I
Or for
think there's a case
celebrating,
for that.
surely.
Well, I think it depends on the celebration. I mean, there are nice ways and nasty ways of being celebratory, aren't there? I mean, as someone who batted, I hated it when a bowler gave you a send-off. You got me out already. I mean, I can't feel any worse than I already feel. And then you're going to sort of follow through with a few choice words.
Is it not part of it, though? Or maybe I'm just being callous.
Maybe I played in a slightly different era from today. Driven up to mid-off, and there is no run. So it ends up being a maiden, despite the fact that Stokes played some quite pleasant strokes. And England are 225 for 4. Back to the tweets.
Mezzi says, morning all. How wonderful to see the famous champion of county cricket, Annie Chave, back in the tweet seat. And Jason and Hendo, of course.
Yeah, that was just a little
Damning-
add-on, wasn't
damning
it?
with
Yeah,
faint
we
praise.
did think, because she is so popular, we did think of just sending Annie on her own this morning, and she could just run the show.
Ravi there says, hello lovelies, crucial first hour.
Oh, Ravi, you're back with us, are you? I know
Yay.
you've been flirting with Guerrilla Cricket South Africa. Oh, no, you come running back. Annie Chaves here, and you're straight back in, aren't you? I know, I understand.
Martin Lawrence says, you know Annie Chave is on commentary when you hear that familiar laugh.
Yes.
Dave Wood says, Guerrilla Cricket morning, ladies and gents, expecting an 8-wicket haul for Root once we have scored 823 for 7.
Jab down the first ball of a new over from Ollie Pope, facing Anrik Nortje into the gully, and there is no run. That was a surprisingly slow ball. I don't think it was meant to be a slow ball, but it was only 79 miles an hour, and this is a man who can get up there in the 90s, or the low 90s, certainly. Just trying to bowl a little leg cutter there, maybe. It was quite a good ball. Had him prodding at it ever so slightly.
To take your analogy to the extreme, so general abuse is fine, but personal abuse is not fine.
Yes, well, abuse, I mean, onto the back foot. Pope plays square into the covers, Eldar Fields. Well, haven't there not been scientific surveys done to show that swearing is good for you? It actually reduces your pain, whether that be emotional or physical.
Yes, there's also that. There's also the thing that says swearing shows, well, a large vocabulary.
Large vocabulary, I
Inventive
think that's
swearing shows a large vocabulary and...
Absolutely. I mean,
I
as long
think
as you're
swearing
inventive
should
with
be
it,
allowed,
I think so.
basically,
Oh,
yeah.
God, of course it could. I mean, in sport, for goodness sake. I mean, in football, you just can't stop swearing if you're playing. I mean...
You just run along swearing.
Yes, absolutely. Nortje bowls angled into Pope, who clips this up to mid-on, and there is no run. A bit of sun filtering through at Port Elizabeth. We saw the rain this morning. I was coming in and I heard Jonathan Agnew on the radio, on the other radio. You may have heard of them, but I won't say who they are. Talking about the fact that there had been rain overnight, and then suddenly the covers came off. We got all excited, we got in, we were ready to go, and then the covers came back on again. And then we thought, we'll go at 10:15. No, we'll go at 10:25.
Oh, it's been a topsy-turvy kind of morning, hasn't it?
It really has. Stokes is on 39, as is Pope. So in comes Nortje. Bowls to Pope, and Pope tries to cut. Doesn't really time it as well as he would have liked, but he'll certainly get a single. Out to deep backward point, and he moves into the 40s. It's an extraordinarily consistent top and middle order from England today, yesterday and today, in the sense that everyone's got a start, haven't
It's
they?
quite unnerving.
Yeah, lowest score was 24, the highest score was
44.
44.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of unusual to get
Yeah,
that.
what are we going to complain about?
Oh, well, we'll find
No,
something.
I'm sure we
we'll
will,
find
yeah.
something. 226 for 4. This partnership now worth 78 from 170 balls. Stokes to face. Will Nortje switch to back round the wicket? No, he stays over the wicket. He's in bowls, and it's clipped away neatly by Stokes. He'll get himself another single, keeping Maharaj busy. And coming in off the fence. England move to 2.27 for 4. Should say, of course, that the GPL is open, and the GPL has 57 whole pounds of sterling, which is probably worth about $12 in the pot.
Woo!
And, well, I think you know what to do, people. If you don't, I'll tell you in a minute. At the end of this over, 2.27 for 4. I get distracted sitting here because all the time I can see out the window and I just see these planes flying into Heathrow. And it's just, I don't know, just very difficult to watch cricket in those circumstances. Beautiful shot from Pope, waits for this to come right onto him and then steers it away with a flick of the wrists past gully for 4 runs. Oh, he does look like a little master. Dare I call him the little master, or will Sachin Tendulkar fans get very upset?
Yeah,
he
I
looks
think
like
we'll
it's
stay off little
It's a
master.
bit early
Yeah,
for
yeah,
it's a bit
yeah.
early for that,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, in his fledgling career. Yes. Now the GPL. What you have to do is you go to our website, GorillaCricket.com, 1R 2Ls, and you go to competition. You work out how many runs you think will be scored in the whole day, and then you guess it. You write it down. You send it to us with a nice shiny pound, and then if you get it on the nose at the end of the day, you win what's in the pot. And the more of you that take part today, the more the pot goes up. So what could be better? For a £1 stake, you could earn yourself 57 quid or more. So please get involved in the Gorilla Prediction League, and well, good luck.
There's already one person already in there.
Yeah. Is it Messi?
Yay!
No, it's not.
It's not Messi, Jez.
I want to say hello to people on Crick Tracker.
Well, we'll do that. Go ahead.
Can I just say, Ramesh Devriya, I'm not very good at these. Good. It says good. Alex
Good.
Z says current up to D.
Come back
Durham.
to that. Rabada is in, bowls to Stokes, and as he presses forward, it comes off a thick outside edge, running down towards third man. Well chased by Maharaj, who gets the ball in the air as quickly as he can on the turn, but they get back for a comfortable 2.
This cricket malarkey's getting in the way of my crick tracking.
It
reading
is.
out.
I mean, how are you going
Yeah.
to read? I mean, how are you going to keep your fans happy?
Durham Singh Panu says good. Abbas Sangrasi says good.
Well, welcome to one and all on Crick Tracker. If you're watching us from India or from any part of the subcontinent, or from the US perhaps, or Canada or Russia. Can I think of any other nations I haven't mentioned? No, there's one or
There's
two
probably
more.
quite a few more.
Yeah, Rabada, short ball hammered by Stokes. Actually, that said, I'm
Whoa.
not sure he got it quite as well as he wanted to. He may have got it slightly on the bottom corner of the bat, but it's got enough on it to run away to the mid-wicket boundary for one of these.
The number of the day. Who could ask for more? The number of the day is 4.
Yeah, Stokes has looked in imperious form already this morning. He just looks in charge, doesn't he? I've said that before and then seen him get out, but
Yeah, you keep trying to get him out.
yeah,
don't you?
he rarely looks poor. He rarely plays an innings where you think, oh, he looks horribly out of form. Anyway, here comes Rabada. One slip in a gully, he bowls, and onto the back foot he goes, playing in defence this time, straight back up the pitch. Rabada stoops to field, and the England score has moved to 237 for 4.
Yeah, he's looking fit, isn't he, as well? I do worry about his bowling, though, and how fit he is. For
Yeah, well, he's the kind of bloke who will try and play through the pain barrier, isn't he? I mean, he's a renowned, really hard trainer. I read the other day that Ollie Pope's been running with him to try and get his fitness levels up. I'm sure he's pretty fit anyway. Again, onto the back foot in defence. High left elbow, ball dribbles up to mid-on. Apparently they were running back to the hotel the other day. An extra run, just in case. He probably plays a day and then thinks, I haven't done enough, really. I've only scored 100 and taken 5 wickets. I think I'll run back to the hotel.
Well, the beauty of this England attack is that Stokes should be deployed as the 5th bowler.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
With 3 other seamers and a spinner.
Yep.
And they manage his workload however they see fit.
Indeed.
And bowl short, sharp.
His little spells, yes. Short and pulled again. Almost exactly the same position to the left of mid-on. And that will run away for 4 more. And would you believe it, Ben Stokes has brought up his 22nd Test 50. He came out in that incredible rampaging mood, didn't he, at Cape Town in the second innings, and he's carried on here to some extent. 50 off 102 balls, 7 fours.
50 runs, your 50 runs. Well done, well done, well done, well done. 50 runs, your runs. The jump.
It's only half begun, I'm afraid to say. Ben, you've got to settle down and get another 50 runs. This is driven without the timing he would have preferred to mid-off. Man's come in square on the offside, a sort of shortish cover point. Not quite sure what that you'd call that position really, but there's some plan they're working to. Whether it's a good one, only time will tell. But another fantastic innings from Ben Stokes, really. England just wobbling a little bit at, when he came in. But he's a picture of solidity, isn't he? He really is. He gives you a sense of security. Do you feel secure in the hands of Ben Stokes? Not literally, obviously.
Sorry, you're asking me.
Away.
I do.
I should say that. Do you feel secure in the hands of Ben Stokes?
Well, if I ran into Ben Stokes, I think I'd be suffering rather than him.
Oh, if you ran into him, literally, you probably would be. Yes, indeed. We've got more tweets, by the way.
Yes, we do. Leah says, meanwhile in Rajkot,
Yep.
the convicts have committed the terrible error of not getting Rohit Sharma out within 25 balls face.
Oh, no. He'll probably get about 180 then, won't he?
And Kieran Bunt says, weirdly, when you mention rude words, I had a flashback to sensible soccer on this Sega Mega Drive. There was a pre-made team called Rude Words.
Oh, really?
Featuring players such as Spaghetti and no actual rude words.
That's not very rude.
Yeah. Anyone else recall any other names used?
That's
early 90s. I'm afraid it passed me by.
It's moderately inventive, but it's not very, very rude. I think they need to up their game. That's computer games for you, I suppose. 241 for 4. Stokes 50. Pope 44. Nortje about to begin his 18th over. He's bowling over the wicket. There are 2 shortish mid-wickets in, would you believe? And no slip and a wide-ish gully. Pope defends on the back foot, straight back to Nortje, and there is no run. Annie.
Anna Forsyth says, "All right, Annie, I won't make you say rude words because people were mainly nice to me on my debut.
We were very nice,
you've
and she
been
was
a
very,
while."
very, very good with Anna. We'd have her back. We'd have her back. Anytime.
Messi says he's absolutely delighted to hear that Paul Smith is joining us after lunch. His discussion with Tony Bishop on the Gorilla Shire podcast was memorable.
It was. I haven't had a chance to listen to too much of it, unfortunately. Foolish ball, forward comes Pope, bat and pad, nicely close together.
Well, I listened to the whole thing, and then I was lucky enough to meet Paul on Monday night and listen to him talk again.
He was talking at Gloucestershire, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was talking at Gloucestershire Cricket Club, and it was a really interesting talk, and it was mostly about his book. And then Tony and I went out for a curry with him and had an equally interesting conversation.
You've been out for a curry with us.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you see, a bit of glamour comes in, and off you go. 241 for 4 is the score. Nortje 1 for 59, and Vernon Verlander is
You
looking
talking about Tony?
Yes, all the superstars of cricket. Tony Bishop, du Plessis looking at the ball with some suspicion, as cricketers want to do when things aren't quite going their way. Oh, I've had a note. I had a note passed to me recently, and I've forgotten to read it out. I'll find out what it was all about. I got carried away. Lovely shot from Pope. Times that beautifully off his legs. I thought perhaps that was going to run for 4, but they've got added protection, apart from the 2 short mid-wickets, out on the boundary rope. Now, let me have a look. Oh, yes, session times. That was it. They have been elongated. We have... Well, we're going to have a 2-hour session despite the delay of 45 minutes in starting this morning. We're still going to play 2-hour sessions, so
everything's just been delayed by about 15 minutes throughout the day.
No, 15 minutes or 45 minutes? 45 minutes. So if you work on that basis, lunch will be taken at 8:45. No? I'm not sure whether we're working on South African time or British time here.
Those are
and I'm a bit confused.
I saw you're not very good at times this morning. Yeah.
No, I struggle. Nortje into Stokes. Oh, Stokes has gone after that. He throws his hands at it off the back foot, but makes no contact. It'd be silly if he gave it away now. He's batted so well, but that may just be a warning to him to just focus. Maybe a little bit of nibble away there. He was probably just trying to hit it too hard, wasn't he? That shot that wonderful shot that he played to win the game at Headingley. Do you remember it off the back foot? Thrashed it through the covers. This time he made no contact.
Yes, but Australia had given up by then.
Well, they had, but it was an emphatic final shot, wasn't it? To say, yeah, take that, Aussies. In comes Nokia again. Bowls. Oh no, what on earth is he doing there? He's gone right across his stumps, exposed them all, and then clips the ball aerially. I mean, there's no danger in clipping the ball aerially because there's no one saving the one on the onside. But it seemed like a strange shot to only pick up a single to the man on the fence. I'm not quite sure what that was all about. I had a feeling, when did he do this? Was it in New Zealand where he was really batting well on the second morning in one of the tests there? And then we thought England were going to get sort of 500 and he was going along really well. And then got just a little bit, it seemed like he got a little bit bored and was trying to invent strokes. And
the one where he got
himself
caught
up.
up slipped by Taylor.
Yeah, I think it was. Nokia into Pope. Pope turns this to mid-wicket, one of the many mid-wickets. There seem to be, I don't know, breeding. I think the mid-wickets are breeding. There was one, then there were two, and now there are three. But anyway, that's the end of the over. And we'll go back to Annie for some more tweets.
Messenger says, I have to say that guerrilla cricket is particularly well experienced in terms of judging whether fucking knobhead is an acceptable form of abuse. In my view, it should be penalised for lack of originality or humorous content.
Yes.
But this is Joss we're talking about, so I don't penalise him.
But I was shocked by Joss. I mean, the man with the beautiful blue eyes.
I know, he looks so sweet,
how
doesn't
could
he?
he come out with filthy language like that?
I've no idea. I can't believe that he would even know those words.
I know. I mean, he had a good upbringing as far as I know.
Mog says players just need to learn to swear in languages other than English. That seems to work okay.
Yes, that's very good one. We have a change of bowling though. We'll come back to the tweets in a minute. Rabada is coming out of the attack strangely early, and South Africa are turning to this man.
Guy who will never settle down. Where pretty girls are, well, you know that I'm around. I kiss a man, I love him, 'cause to me they're all the same. I get so gosh darn hammered, I don't even know their names. 'Cause I'm a philanderer, yes, a philanderer. I sleep around.
Well, if there's wobble out there, he is the man to find it. He's coming forward, Ben Stokes, as Philander, operating from round the wicket, has de Kock up to the stumps immediately. So he'll be taking no liberties by standing 8 inches outside his crease to when the ball is coming off the pitch without much pace.
I'm just wondering if Rabada's being switched to the other end after with Nokia being replaced.
You could be right. That could be what they're doing.
Because Nokia was bowling to a very defensive field with no slip or anything like that.
And breeding mid-wickets.
That's far too sensible, Jason.
Yep. What are you doing here? Inside edge, turned really down to deep backward square, and Stokes takes himself another single. He goes to 52. England 244 for 4.
And the other corollary to that is that we're just forgetting that this ball is only 15 overs old, and they've gone very defensive very early.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's almost as if they're saying there's going to be nothing out there for these bowlers. If that's the way they think, then surely they've got to get Maharaj into the attack as quickly
you'd have
as
thought.
possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bowled 30 overs yesterday, maybe a little bit sore, although spinners are used to long spells. And I think they had to bowl a few long spells in India.
We don't look in any trouble at the moment, either.
No, but then we've been fooled.
We've been there before.
We've been fooled that way before. Now let's have a look at this field. The umpire is trotting across to the offside. We have a man at square leg, a man at mid-wicket, a man at mid-wicket, and a man at mid-on.
It's a very, very strange leg side
field.
A
mid-wicket, that's a new one on me. In comes Philander, and Pope chops away down towards backward point. Is anyone going to get round to get that? No, they're not. It's going to go away.
They're all in
4
mid-wicket.
runs. They're all at mid-wicket. There's no one there. And Pope moves to 49. Partnership of 100. 248 for 4. Philander hasn't really looked on his game in this test. He looks a bit disinterested, doesn't he?
Well, I think he's seen the pitch and thought there's nothing in it for me.
Yeah, but that's, surely your attitude should be a little bit stronger than that as a, fully paid up professional. You've got to still go out there and give it your best.
He's preparing for Somerset, that's
he
what
is
it is,
preparing for Somerset. That's right.
And just on the final point, the reason the umpire switched to the offside because he had to check for 3 behind square.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Because there was a short leggy type square leg in place.
Short leg, square leg, a mid wicket. We're inventing new positions all the time. So there's something double entendre-ish about that as well. But anyway, here comes Philander, none for 20. A slip in a gully. He's in, bowls. Round arm there a little bit. Right up full. But Pope doesn't go after it and just strokes it up to mid-off. And there is no run. Yeah, you got the feeling a little bit at one point yesterday, South Africa went on the defensive, went into their sort of shells a little bit and didn't seem very confident. And
it does feel a bit like that, yeah.
We've had 24 runs already this morning, and there seems to be a lack of bite and intensity about them. But
well, that would be a travesty, having just seen Ollie Pope go out of his crease before the ball is bowled.
Yeah, and he cuts again, and he's going to get himself a 50, a second Test match 50, and he'll bring up England's 250, 251 for 4, a third Test 50. Sorry, Ollie Pope, I did him a disservice, and he's looking like the real deal.
Now my innings going, great guns, I hit the ball, 4 runs, I hit the ball and it went for 4 runs.
50 runs, you're 50 runs, well done, well done, well done, well done. 50 runs, you're 50 runs, the job is only just begun.
Philander, and again, full of ball, and he defends up to mid-off. Now, just for the moment, while he's not out anyway, and he's still out there, Ollie Pope's average has gone into the 40s, and I think that makes him only the second batsman in this England team currently to have an average of over 40.
Is it
that
Root
right?
as well?
Root, yes.
Yeah.
Root and Pope,
Yep, I think so.
And we've also got this jingle to play as well.
The bowling attack has been survived and sometimes even plundered. The partnership has persisted and now has reached 100.
It's another jingle I didn't know we have, but I like it anyway. Any more tweets?
Yes. Anna Forsyth says, let's not get rid of stump mics. Joss effing knobhead was funny as shit. Aren't we in the entertainment industry
Good
here?
point, good point.
David Cartwright, who's a friend of mine, hello David, says, thank you Annie Chafe. Within 3 minutes of my first listen to Gorilla Cricket, nice to hear that fucking knobhead banter
It's already
shouldn't be part of cricket. Nice Southwest values.
Absolutely right, absolutely.
Dave Wood says I'd be in favour of a Tourette's cricket league.
Oh dear. Now we're going to see if Rabada has switched to the other end. No, he hasn't. Norkia continues. He bowls to Stokes. Stokes plays a glorious stroked checked drive up to mid-off. It's a kind of shot that deserves 4 runs because it's just so glorious and beautiful to watch. It fills you with serotonin or whatever those things are that are good for
Serotonin
you.
is the right one.
Serotonin, indeed. I love the fact that I can watch cricket from another country and always see a flag for Rains Park. If you don't know where Rains Park is, it's just near Wimbledon.
I didn't know where
Did
Rains
you not know
Park
where
was?
Rains Park
No.
is? But they're always there. Don't know why they're
fanatical fans.
They're fanatical. And they've obviously got a lot of money.
I was
bastards.
going to say
on the
wealthy.
back foot goes Ben Stokes. I can't afford to go and tours like this. Defended up to mid-off, and there is no run. 89 miles an hour from Norkia. And the England score has moved on to 252 for 4. It's been a good morning already for them after a delay of 45 minutes because of a bit of rain hovering in the vicinity of St George's Park. But since then, both these England batsmen have gone to their half centuries. Pope 53 from 94, Stokes 52 from 109. Stokes, the left-hander, a good combination this. I can imagine this being a great combination to watch over the years ahead. What a shot, a short-armed pull from Stokes as Maharaj scrambling around the boundary from deep square leg, then pirouetting, doing a dive straight onto the turf, eventually getting up and returning it to the wicketkeeper. He didn't cover himself in glory.
No, he
Probably
didn't.
covered himself in a bit of rain that's on the outfield. And it's
That
all
was
not,
effortless, wasn't it?
It
by
was
Stokes?
not from Maharaj. That
No.
was effortful. From effortless to effortful. I imagine they picked up 3 runs there because it took Maharaj about half an hour to actually.
I'm not actually sure that they did. I think they just took 2.
No, it was entertaining stuff. He could have injured himself there. He slipped a little bit, didn't he? I
It
shouldn't
must
so
be a
cruel.
bit damp on
Yeah,
that
it will be a
outfield.
little bit damp. Stokes moves on to 54. It was just the 2. Norkia in again. He defends this on the back foot up to mid-on. I've just got the feeling that Stokes wants to break free, doesn't he? He just wants to go crazy and play the shots of a cricketing genius.
Yeah, but that's what the beauty of Stokes now is, that he doesn't always do that.
No, but I can feel.
Yes. It's kind of like, yeah.
But I think he's finding it that easy.
Yeah.
That he wants to give full.
Seeing it like a football, isn't
he? Wants to give full rein to his genius, I think, is a way to say it. And Tony arrives. He will be bringing Paul Smith with him, I think, attached to him. And now this has been squeezed through the offside off a thick outside edge. I think he was trying to play that into the onside, but he's in such good nick. He's still going to get 3 runs from it as Elgar pulls it up just inside the boundary. I should forewarn you that because Paul is making his debut on Guerrilla Cricket, Tony is taking control of ball by ball and jingles. So that could be chaotic. So just go easy on the poor old Bish. Because otherwise, don't want to get me confused. He's an old man now. He's take it easy on him. Just.
He's a very fit man.
Don't mess. Oh, he's a very fit man. I've seen him doing his step ups. 256 for 4. Oh, I think they got the vowel wrong there. I don't think she meant fit bloke. Stokes on 56, facing up now to Norkia. Final ball of the over before we have the change. He's got the edge! Oh, and he's got away with it again. He was trying to whip it into the onside. And second slip would have been pretty handy. There is no second slip, so it's 4 runs down to third man. England 260 for 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And whilst we're all moving around.
Yep. You owe us all right. You think this alternative cricket commentary stuff comes cheap? Well, we need some dollar bills to help pay our bills. So please, go to patreon.com/GuerrillaCricket and sign up to make a regular monthly donation. You know there is literally nothing like Guerrilla Cricket's coverage, so don't be tight. Dip into your virtual pocket and throw some cash our way. See, Rihanna knows. Patreon.com/GuerrillaCricket.
Yes, indeed. Patreon.com/GuerrillaCricket. I'm Tony Bishop. Yes, indeed. As Hendo was saying, I am ball by ball and jingles. What could possibly go wrong? Not much going wrong for England at the moment. 260 for 4, and that, by the way, this partnership is a record partnership for the 5th wicket at St George's Park. As this ball is whipped beautifully off his toes by Ollie Pope, who really seems to have settled into his rhythm this morning away to mid-wicket. They'll take a single and bring Ben Stokes onto strike. So I am with a guest, Paul Smith, former Warwickshire all-rounder, opening batsman, treble winner in '94, Paul, and I'm sure I could list many other things. And on reading your tweets and Facebook messages and all other things, you will hear Nakul Pandey.
Morning, Tony. Morning, Paul. It's a pleasure. Just to clarify, that's a record for England for the 5th wicket at St George's Park.
Correct. Yes.
Small margin to make up the all-time record for all teams.
Indeed. Philander coming around the wicket to the left-handed Stokes, and Stokes just leans forward and pushes this away to mid-off, where I think that's Kagiso Rabada. Kagiso Rabada, who, as we found out now, is banned from the 4th Test. Paul, as a former quickie, as a pace bowler, do you think that's a tad excessive on poor old Rabada?
Yeah, I think it probably is.
Paul, just you get the mic right up close to your mouth so we can hear every word.
You can hear every
perfect.
Word now.
We can now.
Yeah, I do think it's quite excessive.
There's this one again. Philander's in and whipped away around the corner by Stokes down to deep backward square, and they'll take another single. So they're working the singles and taking the boundaries and moving the score along exactly as they planned. Yeah, I mean, when we watched it yesterday, he was pumped, but I don't know that he was pumped to the point where it was directed. Surely the criteria is, are you directing it personally at the batsman? And our feeling was he wasn't really doing that, although he was close to it.
There's some procedural elements to unpick here, which I'll try and unpick over the course of our stint.
As in comes Philander, and solidly behind it is Ollie Pope. Paul, did you ever get to a point in a game where you were eyeball to eyeball and celebrating the departure of a batsman you've been targeting?
Many times. I think the game shouldn't become too precious. It's team against team, man against man, woman against woman, and all that sort of thing. You have to let people know you're about.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I feel Rabada's a little bit harshly done by as Philander turns at the top of his mark in from that duck pond end, and Ollie Pope again just waits for that, guides it past Gully though. I think it was on the bounce, and I think it was safe enough.
Yeah, it's a good stop by Zubair Hamza there at Gully. He's pretty close in it. Gully.
Yeah, it was well short of him, and actually parried it round the post, didn't he?
Single in a corner.
Goalkeeping parlance.
Yeah, so I'll give you the details of Rabada's ban at the end of the over.
Okay, 2:63 for 4. We're in the 98th over, so that new ball, which was taken straight away by South Africa, is heading for being 18 overs old. Philander's going to be in again, and this again is worked off his legs by Stokes down to mid-wicket. Rassie van der Dusen doing the fielding. Concludes that over, none for 28, so wicketless for Philander so far out of the 4 that have fallen. 55 Pope, 62 Ben Stokes. This partnership doing a very good job for England.
Yeah, so Kakisa Rabada was fined 50% of his match fee and got 1 demerit point for what happened yesterday. So his ban is essentially an accumulation of demerit points, because he's had a few incidents in the last few years. One notable send-off to, I think, David Warner when Australia were last here. So he's got 4 demerit points in the last 2 years, which equals 1 ban. So it's not just for this game or this incident, but it's a kind of an accumulation. I agree. I think that whereas I think on some occasions Rabada has gone a little bit too far and has, sworn directly at someone, I think this was a celebration that Joe Root happens to be standing near, is sort of what it looked like from where we were sitting, and I think it's a little bit harsh. Obviously, there's quite a lot of talk on Twitter about Kakisa Rabada. Cricketing View says it shouldn't be penalised. Those microphones should be turned off. It's just bloody ridiculous that we sit around and judge exchanges in the middle of the Test match as though they occur at a bus station. Dave Wood says, I'd be in favour of Tourette's Cricket League. Banbury Show says, swearing never happened. Good morning, you bunch of C-words. Have you heard of the baseball cheating scandal? Which one?
Well, I think all sports have their darker side. Funny enough, we were chatting about that off air, or maybe it was last night, Paul, when you finally managed to arrive in the deep, dark night of Sydenham.
It was very late.
It was very late, or early, depending on which way you're looking at.
Well, a familiar hour.
Anyway.
Depends which end that you're coming at it from, doesn't it?
264 for 4, I think. So do we have a change of bowling?
Norkia's continuing.
It's still Anderik Norkia, who whips up a fair amount of pace. His right arm over, and Ben Stokes, I beg your pardon, just tucks in very securely behind that. 88 miles an hour for Anderik Norkia. We had a number of conversations about the pronunciation of his name, and finally got a tutorial from a South African friend who basically it's the Nor of Norway and the Kia of IKEA, and if you put those two together you've got Norkia, and then you're spot on with the way to pronounce his name. 264 for 4 as Norkia switches to over the wicket to bowl at the left-hander actually to Stokes, and this is just away to Faf du Plessis. No, actually we're just looking at Faf du Plessis. There's a way to point. There was no run.
Linux Leah says, if being penalised for lack of creativity and sledging how will Australia field a team, C-word, C-word, C-word is not the pinnacle of wit.
Well, no. It's our self-imposed discipline, isn't it? It's a word we do not use. Even though there might be 1 or 2 mischievous tweeters out there who will try and catch us out, mentioning no names. As Norkia is in once more and left, confidently left, extravagantly left, with his bat held high outside of his off stump by Ben Stokes, and through to Quentin de Kock it goes. 2-6-4 for 4. Paul, you played a fair bit in South Africa, haven't you?
I did. I played a lot, yeah. Great place to play cricket. Very challenging. Everywhere you play in South Africa, the conditions are different. Play in Johannesburg, 6,000 feet above sea level. Ball travels further. If you've got pace, hits the keeper's gloves harder. If you hit a ball distance, it travels further. All the places in South Africa are different.
As Norkia is in again, short and pulled by Stokes. There'll be a man down at that mid-wicket boundary. Indeed there is, so that will restrict England to just a single, 265 for 4. Yes, our South African cousins were, we had a sort of a pre-series discussion which we sent out as a podcast, and Poe from our team there says that at the high veld you will tend to get more bounce, faster wickets than you do sort of here on the East Coast in do they call it the low veld?
It's just
if you got a high veld, presume you have to have a low veld as well. I don't know.
It's the same in Durban, which is on the other coastline.
Yeah.
It's very low and slow. South Africa don't like playing at Durban because it doesn't really play to their strengths.
Sure.
Nokia is going to be in again to Ollie Pope, who waits and just works this again down to long leg, just eases it round the corner, and another comfortable single.
We have some love, of course, for Paul Smith on Twitter. Arthur Patricia says, watching Paul Smith and that magnificent Warwickshire side in the early 90s was one of the joys of my formative cricket years, and I'm selfishly pleased he's now spending 14 hours a day every day with Tony for our listening pleasure.
Well, it's not quite like that. However, we do seem to have seen each other quite a lot recently. You were kindly, you hosted us at Edgbaston.
And
we're hosting you here.
Obviously, we've played that. We've given that airtime, that interview that you guys did together for Gorillashire, quite a bit of airtime. And Message says, a very Gorilla Cricket welcome to Paul Smith. Your interview with Tony has been the highlight of my listening this year.
Fantastic. As in comes Nokia, and this one again nicely worked away to mid-wicket. Rabada, I believe that is. Is that Philander or Rabada under the sun hat? We've seen a lot. It's Big Vern, yeah. No, it was Rabada. We've seen a lot of Rabada, and the reason we're seeing a lot of him is because of that ban.
That didn't look too bad to me, to be honest. I can't quite understand why he's been banned for that.
No.
Not as if he was... He might have been...
Well, we're going to watch it again here. So he's up right by him. Well, I mean, Joe Root just has a look rather dismissively. I don't think Joe Root's impressed, let's put it like that.
Not that he's in any position to pass judgment, having just had his off stump knocked back.
Well, there is that.
Okay, it's more borderline than I thought it was, seeing it again.
Yeah,
I
just think if you just take some of that out of the game loses something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've heard a lot about the line in the last couple of years, haven't we? And we're
true enough. We do have a change of bowling though, and of course, I've just realised that I'm actually responsible for for jingling it. For the first time this morning, we're going to see Kisa Maharaj, 1 for 55 for him, and I will jingle him up very shortly.
From the end where he bowled, I think about 25 overs or something in a row, or 20 overs in a row yesterday.
It's going to be this man.
There's a bowler there from South Africa. Started out bowling pace, but he made the switch. I wonder why, but he's known as Keshav.
Indeed he is. 267 for 4, and the workhorse of this South African side again. He gets immediately gets the ball to move in to the left-handed Stokes, but Stokes has worked it away to mid-wicket. They've taken a pretty easy 2. They seem to be using him, Paul, don't they, Maharaj, as you know, he's both containment and attack, which I suppose is the classic role for your spin bowler in a first innings.
Yeah, and it's a 5-day game.
And it's a 5-day game. We hope on a second we'd settle for that. Maharaj in again, and this one's slog swept by Ben Stokes. The man at deep mid-wicket is not going to get there. Van der Dusen came jogging around, but more in any kind of hope than expectation, and that's 4 runs. And Knackle looks at me as go, mate, you've got to jingle the 4 as well. So here it is.
He's only been bowling for 2 or 3 balls, but I already feel sorry for Maharaj. He's now bowling to a well-set Ben Stokes. The seamers have made no inroads whatsoever, and he's found himself in a position, probably like he was at Cape Town, where suddenly it's Maharaj or nothing, and you say, right, over to you, Keshav, you poor bastard.
Well, it is kind of like that, isn't it? And it is sort of slightly Cape Town revisited. But you never know. The red mist may descend on Ben Stokes, as this one he does wait for, just tickles around the corner. I think he was interested in a single, and Ollie Pope, whose call it was because it had gone behind Stokes' eye line, was very quick to say, not this time, Ben. quite rightly too, I think. 273 for 4. Maharaj, who gets through his overs quickly, wheels it again. That one turns probably too far and is outside of the leg stump of Stokes. He has a little prod, unsuccessfully, so there is no run.
Very good take from de Kock down the
right
side.
Yeah, he's a class act, is Quentin de Kock. He's a class act with the bat. He's a class act, I think, behind the stumps. Most sides would be very happy to have him. As Stokes is forward once again. There is, of course, a man. There's a slip, and the man under the lid for Maharaj. Yeah, Rabada, we keep seeing these shots of Rabada, who's got a bit of a grumpy look about him, hasn't he? This one, Stokes goes after him again. Has he got enough of it? I think that's gone all the way it has. Over the mid-wicket boundary. Up go the two hands of Bruce Oxensford. And it is, would you believe it, one of these.
Yeah, Ben Stokes has decided that he's had enough of blocking and that basically anyone's going to go here. Yeah, we just saw that footage of a couple of years ago, Krisa Rabada getting Steve Smith out and then giving him a little shoulder bump. Right, we're miles behind on tweets, so I'm just going to race through. Arthur Patricia says, morning all, probably the kiss of death, but I'd be great for English batting both today and for the near future if Pope were to bat all day. Linux Lear, conversation earlier, can confirm that Tendulkar fans are getting upset, Hendo. Source, I am upset. Aidan says, listening to Guerrilla Cricket, woke up this morning to find myself involved in a Twitter debate about batsmen versus bowlers. Hombre Nuevo says, morning Guerrillas, is Stokes opening up due to bad weather forecast or is he just being Stokes? A little of column A, little of column B, probably mostly Stokes.
I think he's set, and he's got Maharaj in his sights, who he made mincemeat of in Cape Town, and fancies some more. Norkia is in this time, and that one's uppish. Perhaps just not coming on to Ollie Pope's bat. Oh dear. And I think there's that Dean Elgar. It's Peter Malan, who was at mid-on, and I think the ball sort of bounced in front of him and went through him. So it was enabled Pope, not the most convincing a shot, but it did net him a single. England move on to 280 for 4.
That 6, by the way, did break the all-time record for fifth wicket partnership at St George's Park.
Oh, that was
previously set by Jacques Callis and Jonty Rhodes.
Oh, right. So we've had 2 fifth wicket partnership records this morning. Extraordinary. I can tell you the previous.
Yeah, that Callis Rhodes partnership of 126 not out was against England in 1995.
Okay, fair enough. As Norkia is going to be in again to the left-handed Stokes on the drive. This time, Peter Malan does get behind it rather more convincingly, diving away to his right. So there will be no single. Yes, it was C.P. Mead and Frank Woolley was the previous England record here. That was 104, set in 1914. Presumably just before the start of the First World War.
Yeah, it was January, February, I think, that time.
Well, it would have been.
Hannibal Size says, yes, I would feel secure in Ben Stokes' hand if I ever found myself there. Martin Lawrence says, would you feel safe in the hands of Ben Stokes? Things you only hear on Guerrilla Cricket, number 735.
In comes another Norkia, left alone outside of his off stump through to Quentin de Kock. No run.
A little bit of lift there. De Kock took that in front of his face.
Would you fancy it? Does it just look like a track you'd fancy bowling on, Paul?
Yeah. South Africa's a good place to play cricket. It's normally always good cricket. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a bowl on this. Maybe not at the age of 55.
Who was it who famously said, was it Don Bradman who was asked, I can't remember, about the West Indies attack, how he thought that they'd get on. He said, I think I might get 80 odd. And they said, only 80? And his reply to that was, yeah, but I am 76 or something.
Yeah.
As in comes Norkia and worked away through mid-wicket again. They've taken one, they will come back for 2. And again, there's a bit of a stumbly fielding from Vernon Philander, I think.
KG Rabada.
Oh, it's Rabada, was it, that time? So it's not the first time, actually. Maybe is the outfield perhaps a little slippy still?
Maybe a little. South Africa were pretty ropey in the first session yesterday, and they've really not been on the pace this morning at all. The bowling's been all over the place, bowling both sides of the wicket, bowling too short, and Maharaj is having to do everyone else's dirty work.
Certainly is.
Nokia 1 for 74. England, if you're English, touch something wouldn't, because they're working themselves into a a good position here. And perhaps yesterday there seemed to be a general feeling that 350 and up was a good score. I think England would be disappointed if they were. That would represent a collapse now if 350 was all they were to get. No slips now for Nokia as Pope just leans into this, guides it away through point all the way to that boundary. And I've got no one to look at, have I? So I have to do the work myself. Here, it's one of these.
It's a free scoring morning.
It is a free scoring morning.
You were sort of expecting a deep point to appear there. Just
yeah.
The entire point region was just vacant.
Well, I suspect, and it'd be interesting to see a sweep of it, because strangely they've removed the slip. There is a gully.
Well, there's two catches at square leg.
Yeah, but I would imagine with Nokia they're looking to work, trying to get Pope to play more leg side. It's a very leg side field, and Ollie Pope is nicely behind this. It's a way to cover, no run. So they're looking to trap Pope on the leg side, but if you bowl outside of his off stump, that's not going to work so well, is it?
I was just about to say, like, as a captain or as a teammate of a Nokia, you'd be a bit frustrated there, wouldn't you? You get 3 leg side catches and he bowls a half volley 2 feet wide of off stump.
Maybe it's a trick.
I mean, there is a gully there, but if it was a trick, it certainly didn't work. Mike Meehall Wood says, I was playing football in Amsterdam last night, and I can confirm that swearing loudly in my strongest accent is a solid way of avoiding punishment at the hands of a Dutch referee. They might speak good English, but I don't think they speak Rochdale.
Does anyone, except someone... You and Gracie Fields, Mike Meehall Wood.
Dr. Jonathan Lowe says, I expected Josh to be really old-fashioned and well-spoken, and expected any insult from him to be like, you fop-doodle nincompoop. A cricketing Buddha says, shouting at the stumps isn't in the spirit of cricket. One needs to tell crowds not to boo. Messi Jez says, in the interest of fairness, I do think that the accuracy of abuse should be a factor in judging its appropriateness.
Maharaj is going to continue. He does have a slip as well as a forward short leg. His hand goes onto his head, but it seemed to me Ben Stokes was very well in control of that shot. I suppose he was pushing it past the man under the lid there at forward short, but far enough past him not to create too much consternation. In comes Maharaj again, and very well forward comes Ben Stokes again. There is no run. 285 for 4.
To continue Message's tweet, in this case, is there evidence that the target is indeed an effing knobhead? I like the idea of GC covering the trail of truth or otherwise.
Yes, I can't remember what that conversation was spun from.
Butler being angry at Philander last test.
Oh yes, as in comes Maharaj. Stokes forward. Maharaj just skips across to his left to field off his own bowling. Yeah, so Butler got, was it 1 demerit point and a bit of a slap on the wrist?
He got the same fine as Rabada.
Oh, okay. Oh, that one is helped around the corner. That could potentially be leg buys. I think that is going to go all the way, despite the best efforts of young Hamza, who's got young legs, but they're not young enough or fast enough to prevent one of these. Did he lay back on that?
No, leg buys.
It was leg buys, was it? Oh, well, we do have a jingle for that. That might be stretching me too far in my multitasking mode.
Stokes is blowing a little bit, isn't he?
Well, he's been running a lot of singles. He's sweating. Don't forget, high humidity there.
It's humid.
So they're going to be working up a fair old sweat. Maharaj is in and slog swept, and I suspect he's got all of this. Has he ever? I think that's out the ground. Yes, it is. It's over the fence and somewhere on its way into Port Elizabeth now. What a hit that was by Ben Stokes. He absolutely tonked it.
I always like asking cricketers this question. Paul, what's the biggest 6 you've ever seen hit live?
Oh, yes,
Brian Lara at Lord's. 1994, he was 100 and plenty. John Embury bowling from the pavilion end. And last ball of an over, I said and Brian just said large, big. And he hit the flag, top of the flag on top of the pavilion. And was genuinely disappointed that the ball didn't go over the pavilion because it was worth 100 grand.
Well, it was. Albert Trott still holds the record.
Although the pavilion was smaller in those days.
So we are now. This could be interesting from a South African perspective. I wonder if Ben Stokes has unintentionally.
Oh no, someone's found it.
Well, they may have found it, but if this is I'm not saying it would happen. I'm sure the gentleman that found it somewhere down the road is honest as the day is long. But if the ball's been out the ground and completely out the sight of the umpire, that chap could have done anything to the ball when he picked it up.
There's a great story about that when Verinder Sehwag was playing at Leicestershire. You may have heard this story. The ball was reverse swinging a little bit, and he was back with Jeremy Snape. But Jeremy Snape said, it's reverse swinging a bit, Verinder. Viru says, don't worry about it.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, in ball news, it looks like that ball has been retrieved and will continue. But it was given a pretty good inspection by Bruce Oxenford before it was handed back to Maharaj.
Yeah, I'll finish the Verinder Sehwag story after this.
Probably at the end of this over. Maharaj is coming around the wicket to the left-handed Stokes, who's a lot less extravagantly this time. Just nudges it really to mid-wicket. It concludes Maharaj's 34th over. He really is the boxer from Animal Farm. Just keeps working, keeps working. 1 for 73, 295 for England.
So the ball's reverse swing, and Jeremy Snape's been beaten a couple of times on the outside edge. Verinder Sehwag, in the mid-2000s, kind of more or less at the pomp of his career, says, Jeremy, don't worry about it. Next ball, smashes it out of Grace Road. They have to get a new ball, and the ball's not swinging.
It's a good trick.
Yeah, it's a good trick if you can pull it off. Yeah. Mog says Roots average won't be above 40 for much longer. Arthur Patricia says Philander gets huffy if the pitch is dry and turning. Has he been to Taunton? StrangeCarrots.com says rather than just calling Philander an effing knobhead, wouldn't it have been more appropriate to call a bowler an effing tosser? Linux Lear says, judging by the fact that their under-19 team is currently 69 for 5 against Afghanistan under-19s, it may only get worse for South Africa.
Well, we do have the aforementioned Kagiso Rabada, who, although on the naughty step, is most definitely going to be bowling here.
He may as well go all out for this test match now.
What it does mean is, rather sadly, in the next test we won't be able to hear this jingle because it's one of our favourites.
He's a high roller, rock and roller, scariest, deadliest, killingest bowler. He can sink your oats like the Spanish Armada. No one faster, no one harder. What's his name? What's his name?
He is, and he's right arm over to Pope.
Wouldn't it be more appropriate to sort of, if this guy's been accused of doing what he's done, when he's been judged for doing what he's done, wouldn't it be more appropriate for him not to bowl in this game? In football, if you do
football, it'd be a
game,
sending
you
off.
get sent off.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
More of a disincentive if you know that, because in a sense, Rabada could now just go out sort of all guns blazing for the rest of this test match. I mean, he doesn't have to save himself for the next test match, and it could be even more uncomfortable. I suppose he doesn't want to get banned again. I guess.
Rabada is in, and forward comes Pope, pushed to mid-on, no run. That, Paul, is a really interesting question because, yes, you're right, in football it would be a sending off. So if you had, let's say, twice walked on the wicket, or deliberately a bowler has followed through on the wicket to create the rough, you're told you can't bowl again in
or
that
you
innings,
bowl two beamers.
Correct. So for that, you effectively get the equivalent of a sending off.
Yeah.
Whereas for ungentlemanly conduct, you don't. Extraordinary, as this one is fallen on a length, and Ollie Pope just steers it to mid-wicket. There is no run. So, yeah, to me, there's a degree of inconsistency on that. There might be a logic that says, one, you are fundamentally looking to affect the outcome of the game, and one is just being, frankly, a little bit rude,
or letting your temper carry you away. I mean, we were saying that him being banned for the next test is harsh. I don't know what we'd be thinking if he was banned for this test for swearing
indeed,
at a batsman.
Rabada is going to be in again, right arm over. Pope, who has looked a model of stout defence this morning, as well as playing some delicious offside cuts and drives, just gets in behind that. There's no run.
By the way, an update from that South Africa under-19s versus Afghanistan under-19s game. The first game of the under-19 World Cup, which is always a tournament worth keeping an eye on. They always unearthed a number of future stars. After 22 overs, South Africa are 83 for 7 against Afghanistan.
Ooh, blimey. Do you want to keep us up to date on that Indian
I will, yeah.
At some point, Knuckle, as well? Be good. As in comes Rabada, left alone and through to Quentin de Kock. That looked like it had some wheels on it, Paul. What do you reckon? 89.
He's a fantastic bowler, isn't he?
He is, and I know we've talked about it a fair bit, but to me, a degree of really combative aggression is part and parcel for that type of bowler. You know, I just don't feel you should rob him of that. It wasn't though he's like he strangled Joe Root. It wasn't like he swore at Joe Root. It was, you know,
I think the authorities have overreacted.
Just daft. Rabada in again. He has a slip and a gully there, but Pope just drops the bat on it, and there's no point. I mean, there is a point. There's a point was to get a run, but there's no point fielding-wise. So Hamza has to manoeuvre himself over from gully, and it cost South Africa a run. If Sam Northeast was listening to us, he'd be harumphing now at the TV, because we know he's a big fan of always having a more conventional point in place.
And a conventional square leg.
And a conventional square leg.
Yeah, after... in the 24th over, just coming up to the end of the 24th over, India, having been put into bat, are 141 for 1. The man out Rohit Sharma for 42. Shikhar Dhawan is 61 not out. Virat Kohli is 29 not out. The wicket was taken by Adam Zampa, the Australian leg spinner. Anna Forth Scythe says, Tony. She's asking you to play a whole bunch of jingles. Which is...
oh, Anna, don't do that to me.
County Cricket Matters says, morning all, bit harsh on Rabada. Senor Brain Damage says Rabada should have gained a point back for giving Warner a send-off. Someone else said quite rightly that it is Graham Smith. Durban Oak says, it's bollocks, I'm going to the 4th test. I want to see the best players playing, not banned because a knobhead got called a knobhead. That's a different incident, but point taken. Martin Lawrence says, yes, it was Smith who KJ Rabada bumped into. Ian Shaw says, all sports have their darker side, except snooker, where a player tapping their cue on the edge of the table in annoyance and not wearing the right shoes rank high up on the list of major controversies.
Golf is pretty sedate as well. Golf has some strange rules, I would imagine, about etiquette around behaviour whilst you're playing the game. Well, so does tennis.
I mean, tennis. To be fair, tennis does have its fair share of angry people. There was a great one in golf a few years ago where a TV viewer noticed a player moving a ball and basically dobbed them in, and that player got suspended. Not got suspended, but got like a 2-stroke penalty.
I was trying to think of other sports. I mean, let's say you've just won the 200 metres breaststroke in the swimming pool. You're not going to suddenly stand up at the shallow end and howl into the face of the guy.
What are you going to do? Splash water into someone's face? Michael Phelps going.
Yeah, I mean, certain sports just lend themselves to that type of, you know, expressions of aggression, I suppose. 103 overs completed, 296 for 4. We keep seeing, in fact, I think we may have. Are we having a drinks break, or are we having a little bit of bad weather?
We are having drinks. I think they probably haven't wiped off the camera from the earlier rain. It is now 10 to... Oh, we should have a change. We should have had a change, actually, shouldn't we? It is now 10 to 10.
Wandered off to the green room. They'll be engaged
UK
in some
time
conversation.
Try and get through some tweets. Genro said it. Genro is with us on Twitter. Keep it with us on Facebook Live. Nagendra and Saddam Sheikh, who is bigging up Jacques Callis, always welcome. Sheikh Khalid is also with us on Crick Tracker. Aidan says the ban for Rabada I think is harsh. Sky loved playing the Atherton Donald clip from the 90s. You know a fair bit about Alan Donald. Paul Smith. Atherton made a good point when he said, yes, things were said, but as part of the battle it wasn't contrived sledging. I see Rabada as similar. Was Alan Donald as angry as he looked?
No, Alan would be laid back. It was all, we used to say ease and grace in terms of, you know, don't charge into the wicket and bowl as fast as he can. He naturally bowled incredibly quickly, so if he had ease and grace in his run-up, it was all very controlled.
A little bit like Jofra Archer.
So he's a better bowler than Jofra Archer, and hopefully Jofra will turn into an Alan Donald, but...
I mean, just in terms of stylistically, in terms of... Oh, Rabada, I guess, is another one, too. The run-up is so rhythmical that actually sometimes charging in or striving for the bit of that extra pace can lose you. Were you a charger inner, or did you sort of go? Did you have a certain pace that you wanted to approach the wicket at?
It's about how you hit the crease. If you hit the crease at the right pace and with balance, then your best speed will come from that. If you charge in because you're angry, you probably get to the crease slightly too quickly, and it's counterproductive.
And you lose accuracy, don't you? Like if you control
and pace.
Weren't you saying? I recall you saying, Paul, that Alan Donald, when he came to England, didn't speak any English. Was that right? Was
Virtually
that you told
no
me?
English whatsoever. Tina, his wife, probably taught him English more than anyone, but I mean, as I said to you, we knew Dutch, so we could communicate with Alan in Dutch, and whilst we were teaching him English, and he was a quick learner.
I was going to say, he's fluent these days. You wouldn't know that he picked up English so late. I didn't know that.
He's very English in his ways.
Maharaj is going to be continuing, and onto the back foot goes Pope. Carves it this time. There is a backward point, and there is no run.
He's been approached a couple of times to be the England bowling coach.
Yeah, he's well, he knows his stuff. He's a very good communicator.
In comes Maharaj, pushed away to
I think
square leg.
They
take a quick single. Sorry, Paul.
I'm just thinking it's his manner more than anything. If you don't want to learn, I think I learned, and I think that most people who play a lot of cricket, they'll tell you that, you know, by being in the presence of people like that, you learn a lot, even when you don't really know that you're learning.
I mean, that's been one of the great benefits of county cricket, having been graced with great overseas players. Is it? You hear people who played at Lancashire with Murali, or who played at Sussex with Mushtaq Ahmed. Even if they weren't spin bowlers, they'd learned so much about the game just by talking to these guys.
And also had a bat against them.
Let's just, well, we were going to have a look at the field for the left-handed Stokes. There's quite a heavy offside field for Stokes, actually. There's a man at backward point, cover and an extra cover, and I think there was a long off, and the quick shot we got, there's definitely a slip as Maharaj tosses it wide, very wide of Stokes' off stump.
Bowling to that offside dominant field.
Yeah, well, yes. So at least he's bowling to orders. I will tell you a funny story about Middlesex at Derbyshire in a minute. As in comes Maharaj, and onto the back foot, and Stokes carves this through point. They will take one. They should come back for two. Yeah, comfortably enough.
Some turn though, cutting against the. I know it was a little bit short, but even so, cutting against the spin, not the easiest thing to do. So yeah, Middlesex against.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, Middlesex were heading for a defeat, and I think Derbyshire were piling on all of the pressure, and they had an exclusively leg side field. And I said, go on, bowl it on the offside in a loud voice, and believe it or not, they did, and the whole ground actually laughed. And when I said whole ground, there's probably only about 700 people there. This one is carved away beautifully by Stokes. There is a man, though, down at deep mid-wicket. It's that man, Rassie van der Dusen, who's made that spot his own and restrict them to a single. The 300, crucially, is up for England. So they are 300 for 4. That, when they set out today, will have been, I'm sure, a target they had in mind. To get to that figure with still Pope and Stokes at the crease. Stokes on 86, Pope on 63. Maharaj, and again, this will conclude his over. That's outside the right-handers off stump this time. Through to Quentin de Kock, no run. We have the heavyweights of guerrilla cricket in so many ways joining us. So there will be a change.
I'm going to read through a lot of tweets.
And we'll let Knuckle read some tweets.
Dr. Katie Scott says, giving a sweary send-off to batsmen you just got out is all very well, but imagine how angry it would have made David Warner if he patted them on the back and said, bad luck, old chap. Far more entertaining. Jeremy Dames says, I don't know if South Africa don't like playing in Durban due to conditions. It's more due to the lack of interest in spectators at the game, and maybe massive India-Pakistan supporter base making it more of an away game. It's true, Durban has a huge subcontinental population. Christ the Choir says, puts me in mind of Harry and Paul's posh workmen who discuss highbrow topics but revert to stereotype when they shout at passers-by. And Jeremy James says, the Lowveld is the name given to two areas that lie at an elevation of between 500 and 2,000 feet above sea level, so that is not Durban or Port Elizabeth. And on that geographical note, I hand over to Nigel the Bear Walker.
Yeah, good morning, Pete. It's 304, England. This is dream territory, isn't it? 400 is on the card, Tendo. 400 is on the card.
Well, it's been a very good morning for England, hasn't it?
It has
they've
been.
just come out and taken the game away from South Africa.
Absolutely.
Really.
And that was, you know, the big worry is that one of these two will get out pretty early, I suppose, in the morning, and everything will fall apart. But it has gone the other way. Rabada is in bowls, and Stokes is clearly in mind to be attacking. And he goes right across his stumps and plays that into leg side. Doesn't get all of it. Gets it wide enough of mid-on to get himself a single. Pope looks fantastic, doesn't he, as a batsman?
Yeah, and also he's playing the sort of second fiddle quite well here, isn't he? He's not trying to do too much himself, which other than support Stokes, who's gone up a gear really.
And to be fair, Pope was scoring faster than Stokes last night as well.
Yeah.
He was the man who started it all.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he does look a class act, Pope. You have to say
he does. Incredible.
Every player along the way we'll have a dip. So I don't think he's into he's got to play a lot more tests before that happens. But
no, but I mean, he got
like
60 in the last game, which is a match-defining innings. Rabada is in, and it's defended out to the offside, and there's no one. It's funny, isn't it, how this series has panned out? We were worried about a whole lot of things before we went in, and through illness and a lot of bad luck, a lot of players have actually had a chance to put themselves in positions. And they've done pretty well. I mean, even you have to say Zach Crawley's done all right. He's worked through time when he's been at the crease. Sibley's got himself a maiden ton. Don Bess has come in and bowled okay. He's got a couple of important wickets, although maybe not great. But it's the batting that's been the problem for the last few years. Rabada is in, bowls, and it's defended by Pope up to mid-off, and there's no run. And suddenly we found possibly a top 3. Denny gets shoved along, and possibly Crawley comes in at 3. Pope looks nailed on at 6 now. Bairstow's going to have trouble. And suddenly, you found a bunch of youngsters who have no fear and have no backstory, I suppose.
No, you can tend to sort of, can build these guys up. But I don't think we are building him up. I think he does just look like a good batsman.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Rabada in, bowls, pulled nicely down to long leg. Where's that? Philando's down there, and he'll field and get a single. Yeah, absolutely. It's good news. I mean, I was slating Sibley in New Zealand, but
well, I think we were all a little bit concerned because people hadn't seen a lot of him, but he came with something of a reputation in what he'd done in county cricket and in terms of occupying the crease at the very least. And that first morning, I think in New Zealand, where he sort of was completely ignoring anything outside off stump. We got a sense of that, and he was playing so well through the onside, but there was that just little worry that he's a little bit open and he didn't have the shots. It just seems that he needs to have a level of comfort before he plays those offside shots.
And I guess there's a lot of pressure from a lot of people, even in the press, who probably haven't seen a lot of him because they just follow international
they don't.
cricket.
That's right.
Rabada in, bowls across Stokes from over the wicket and just leaves it through the cock, no run. And that's it. I guess we've all seen him now and we've all gone, well, actually, he can be open, he can play a lot through the onside, but I mean,
but also
he does clearly have the offside strokes.
I think the atmosphere has been changed in cricket or Test cricket in general by someone like Steve Smith, who has got such an unorthodox technique and yet is proving to be one of the best batsmen who's ever lived.
Yeah, true.
And a lot of us can't quite understand how he does it, but
it works for him.
Yeah, and it's about sort of maybe leaving things alone when they don't really need to be changed.
Rabada is in, bowls, and again it's off Stokes a bit straight this time.
If only we'd done that to Jimmy Anderson instead of ruining his action for 3 years.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that
was in vogue then, though, wasn't it?
But I think it's also, I mean, you've also got to look at it from a coach's perspective. It's very difficult if you are a coach to actually say to someone, if you see a technique that is very unorthodox, to actually wonder whether someone would be more successful
if you did this.
If they what's the cost-benefit analysis of making a change or not?
Yeah, and I mean, I think I was saying yesterday, I was reading a coach that I follow on LinkedIn in South Africa who was talking about Sibley's technique, and various other coaches piling into the discussion and a lot of disagreement. So what one coach thinks is okay, another coach won't go along with. So every coach is going to have their own ideas as well.
Indeed. I also think, actually, England winning that last Test match, I think there was, as Maharaj is coming over the wicket to Pope, who just clips that nicely, but can't beat mid-wicket, and there's a single. I think South Africa will be mightily deflated after that last Test, because they so nearly got away with it, with 5 wickets going into the last session. I mean, I thought, fuck it, they've got away with it. And my feeling, my intense distaste with it all was the fact that it never goes that way for England. We always collapse.
We always do.
After having struggled to get into a position where we could possibly save it. Pope goes on the back foot and defends up to mid-on. There's no run. And we actually did get through that. And I think that's a massive lift for the side and a real downer for the South Africans as well.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right there.
Because they looked massively deflated yesterday morning when they lost the toss and were going to go into the field. That first session yesterday, although we didn't score a lot of runs, they weren't on it really.
No.
Maharaj is in, and it's clipped nicely by Pope, but straight to mid-wicket. There's no run.
But I do think, I mean, I don't know why it would be. I was just saying to you, wasn't I, in the green room, that Maharaj is not getting the purchase that he was getting yesterday, I don't think.
No. Well, I think partly that he's been hit out of his stride.
Well, that's
true. He hasn't been able to settle, has he? I mean, we were scoring up nearly 6 and over earlier. Defended back up the track by Pope to Maharaj, and there's no run.
But when he was bowling to Stokes,
still only going at just over 2 runs and over.
Yeah, but when he was bowling at Stokes last night, I mean, into the footholes, he, there shouldn't be that many footholes that early in the day, in the game, and he was really looking dangerous.
He was indeed. Defended out to a very short cover by Pope, no run.
Today, Maharaj has bowled basically 6 overs for 28.
Yeah.
Whereas
yesterday 30 overs for 50 yesterday.
Yeah, one and a bit, yeah.
Still not bad figures. I mean, going just marginally over 2 and over. Pretty all right. Maharaj is in, and Pope tries to get on the inside, play inside out shot. Can only hit the man at short cover again. Is that Milan there?
No, it's Elgar, I think.
Elgar. There's no run.
Right, let me get through some tweets. Ling Mao agrees with you, and he says Stokes is going to hit Maharaj out of the attack.
Well, he doesn't want to do that.
Chris Paul summarises Spitter quickly as "Don't be a cock." Certainly not "Don't be de cock."
No.
Afghanistan are operating a right-left wrist spin combo, which is about the biggest power move ever, says Linux Lear, in the Under-19 World Cup, which is also in South Africa.
Yeah, you can imagine they've got basically 5 leggies or something.
Well, the leggy, when I was looking at the stats just before I came in, he was taking 4 for 13 from 7 overs, which is... well, they've probably never seen anything like it.
Well, South African kids probably haven't. No.
And Message says, you may be wearing a camouflage jacket, babe, but I have bad news for you. I can still see you. Demand a refund.
I don't think it's not bad.
You see my little wavy dance?
Bad news for everyone. They can still see the bear.
Rabada is in to Stokes. His bowls are right across him, and he just lets that through the cock. There's no run. He's on 87 of 142. Pope 64 of 119. England are 302 for 4. Yes, you heard that right. That doesn't happen very often for England. And how many we still don't know how many times England scored 400 in the first innings in the last 2 years. But
yes, we do. I looked it up yesterday.
Twice, isn't it?
Well, no, it's once. The last time they did it was at Perth in the 2017-18 Ashes. So,
really?
So it was December 2017 when Dawid Malan got 140 and Johnny Bairstow got 100 as well.
And they were opening together?
No, they weren't opening.
Oh, no, I'm talking about... Oh, yeah, of course. What am I on about?
Yeah, what are you
asking that question? Left alone by Stokes with the keeper. There's no run. I was asking how many times in an innings. Yes, that's probably right. I mean, that's a long time ago, man.
Well, it's what? Just over 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
8 series.
Yeah. Well, I know. I just kept going back through the series, and you kept seeing England 300, but never... I mean, to be honest, they only just got past 400 then. I think it was only 403 in that first innings in Perth. So it wasn't like they piled on massively.
Oh, well. Rabada is in, Stokes, and they're trying to bowl dry to him, it looks like to me, because that's well wide of his off stump. He's not interested in it. And
well, it's worked before when he's in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, true. He ought to be getting on with it.
You were spotted doing your little bond shimmy by Steve Shipscott. He said, just turn to YouTube on just to see Bear shimmying across the green. I'm going back to audio and having a lie down.
That's a good little movement, you know.
He may be traumatised for years. Yeah, I suppose that is one of the bad things about being able to see us.
Wow.
Perform little dances for you.
And the fact that we're fat and old.
Yeah.
Thrown his bat at Stokes, as that one is again wide. And he misses it. And hands are thrown in the air, but gets nothing on it. It's through to the cock, no run.
I should tell the listenership or viewership, more pertinently the viewership, that I do try to create rotas in which there is a mixture of the
young and the old.
The young, the old, the thin, the fat. Unfortunately, this one, I'm afraid,
it's quite difficult to get the thin and the fat and the young.
we haven't got enough thin people.
Maybe not enough young people. Well, we've got a fair few youngsters.
We've got a few.
I consider myself still. I'm less than 50. I'm young.
Oh yeah, you are, aren't you?
I mean, what? 100 is old age now. I'm only middle-aged, supposedly. Left through to the keeper by Stokes again. And there is no run.
Yeah, there does seem to be a little bit of a plan here, doesn't there?
Yeah, ball them out.
If you want to hit me, you're going to have to go after these ones out, way outside off stump.
Well, you can only bowl a certain amount of overs. Someone else will have to come to the attack. Have we seen Dane Patterson this morning? Has he bowled?
We haven't.
No, we haven't. No.
Interesting. He may be the weak link. First test.
Well, you can't lose faith in your bowlers. You give a man a debut that quickly, can you? I mean, how many people burst onto the scene and take 5 wickets on their first appearance?
Exactly. Rabada is in, and that was a slower ball, and it's gone through the cock, and it's going down towards third man. He stopped it enough. It's only 129 Ks, and
I thought they should have got 2 there, but
they probably should have done.
Just the
but
one.
It's a bye.
Yeah,
and Stokes will steal the strike. Which he'll be happy to face Maharaj when he slog sweep over Cow.
More tweets. Linux Near says, alert, Afghanistan failed to bowl out South Africa for double digits.
Oh dear.
get a bigging up from Moves On Sport. Says get on to Guerrilla Cricket and follow South Africa by England ball by ball.
Well, it'll be interesting, won't it? Because South African kids won't face much leg spin and they'll all get out of that. But you doubt that Afghanistan kids would have been on fast, hard bouncy tracks facing, I imagine, South African.
So it's who adapts more.
Yeah,
as we come to the next tweet, which Chris Paul says, new Test batsmen have two things to prove, I think. The first thing, the ability and temperament under pressure. Pope simply have definitely ticked that.
Yes.
But then after a few tests...
That one spins back sharply and Stokes comes back, but punches it up to mid-off, no run.
After a few tests, the bowlers work you out and then you adapt.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly, or you don't.
Yeah.
And then that,
it's evolution in practice.
The end of your of your Test career, certainly for the foreseeable future. And that's happened to so many openers with England, hasn't it, in recent years?
Down a track comes Stokes, almost yorks himself, but it's going down too quick. Jabs it out towards mid-off, and there is no run. 303 for 4, England.
I mean, we've been through the likes of Robson, Lyve,
Jerome.
Well, one Robson yet to go.
Well, yes.
And we've never gone back to any of them. That was the funny thing.
Well, apart from balance.
And also Jennings.
Yeah, Jennings. And they'll probably take him out to Sri Lanka.
No, please no.
Defended by Stokes from the crease back to the bowler, and there is no run.
I do understand this notion of horses for courses, but I really don't understand it in that respect, because I think you've just got to push forward now, and you say who are going to be your openers and whatever.
Well,
top three
I
for the
think
next
now.
3 years.
Oh, and there's another big heave by Stokes, but Ratty van der Zussen is down at Cow, and he'll field that and it'll only be a single.
Yeah, sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, no, I think now that's the thing. I think because we were so unsettled with openers, we kept going back to. But now I think that Burns is going to be done.
Well, he won't be fit, will he?
But I think the great thing about this is one of those really testy series. I mean, they're always good series, South Africa versus England, but they are one of the better bowling attacks in the world. And you kind of feel that if you can hold your own here, then it's got to give you good confidence to go. I mean, Sri Lanka is a completely different place, and you will face loads of spinners, but. That is defended out to the covers and there's no run, and that's one thing I would say about Crawley is he didn't look particularly comfortable against Maharaj when the ball was turning yesterday.
He looked bereft of ideas to rotate the
how to score, which is something he may well have to learn how to do.
Well, where better to learn than in Sri Lanka?
Well, exactly. Someone teaching the sweep shot. Nice still. That's a beautiful shot by Pope. He kind of just he shuffled his feet to give himself a little bit more space to free his arms, opened the face of the bat and drove that past cover out to the boundary. It's 4 runs. That was a beautiful shot.
Well, what I think was good about it was the way he shaped with his bottom hand to work that through.
Yeah, but you see his front foot went down, and then he just nudged it across a couple of inches to the left to give himself space to open the face.
But it's just here it goes, and here comes the power.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll just put a little bit into that to instead of it being a defensive shot, I'll just give it a little bit of wrist, and away it goes.
I think we're all falling in love with Ollie Pope.
I think we are.
Linux here tells us from the one-day international that's going on in India, Finch is running out of ideas, so he feeds Gabbar and His Holiness some loose bus change. Labuschagne on the bowl.
Okay.
Well, they're cruising along at the usual 5.5 and over for the first 30 overs before they go mental with the lower order, aren't they? Rabada in, and Stokes goes right across his stumps this time. He knows it's coming across him, but he lets that through to the cock, and there's no run.
This will be quite interesting, won't it? Because he'll bowl him a couple, and if he does start to go outside off stump like that, will he then try to bowl one, on his leg stump?
If he does, you imagine that Stokes will try and latch onto it as well.
Yeah, but it's easy to get too far across there, isn't it? And not be able to play with the whole of the bat, really.
Talking about scoring 500, message not to bring the bear down from his high, but perhaps it's worth reminding that when England did pass 400 in Perth, they managed to lose by an innings and 61 runs.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like we were looking at the rain. We thought it was all going to be hot for this entire test. As that's left alone. Again, Rabada goes to Stokes. He doesn't follow it this time. And through to the Cottons. No, we're looking at the weather. Yesterday it was supposed to be hot for the entire test, but we looked at the forecast today. There was rain this morning, and it looks like rain on day 4. So basically, if England really want to push for a victory here and really put South Africa under the screws,
bat once, bat big.
They got to bat once and bat big, exactly. With time taken out of the game, I guess if they get to enforce the follow on, they might well give it a shot.
Yeah,
if they can get enough.
I mean, if you get a more up-to-date weather forecast by that.
I mean, this is it. I mean, that's a beautiful shot by Stokes. Opens the face, cuts Rabada. But Fernandez down at backward point, and it'll only be a single. I mean, it's going to be fun now. I mean, at 309 for 4, I mean, if these two get another 50 or 60 and say 360, 70 for 4, then a wicket falls. You've got Butler coming in at 370 for 4. That could be fun.
Well, it could be.
With Curran after him as well. It could be. It could be 390 all out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, 390 all out wouldn't be so bad. I mean, we'd be upset at getting to 370 for 4 and then 390 all out. Of course we would, but it's runs on the board.
It is runs on the board, and I suppose it depends on how long you keep South Africa out there for as well, and how much you tire them out.
Well, they are going to feel the pressure, you know. Rabada is in short, and Pope ducks underneath it, and through to the Cock, no run.
Thing is, I mean, some of the younger players, no, I won't say they're younger players, but some of the more inexperienced players at Test level are actually quite experienced cricketers.
Yes,
and they've
they are.
batted long
Yes,
in first-class cricket, the likes of Milan. You know, he's got a double 100 in first-class cricket, a lot of runs.
Yeah, true.
A lot of matches as well.
And he batted well in the first.
He did bat
first
he
test.
did well. Yeah, but it's a different thing. They're going to have to try and get. This is the beginning of the game. They were trying to save the game. There's a definite, you know, there's obvious strategy. Just bat out time, bat out. You can't just bat out time in the first innings, can you? You know, you've got to try and get near the score. So at some point they're going to have to try and score runs. They're going to have to try and play shots. And if England can get a couple of early wickets, I mean, I still think the 3 wickets to get in that side, in the South Africa side. Rabada in, shortish, pulled, lovely shot by Pope. Gets it in front, a long leg, he's quite fine, and races away to the boundary behind square for 4 runs. I mean, Milan did show stickability in the first innings, but I still think Elgar's the man to get, isn't he, out of the opening partnership, because he is bloody limpet-like.
Oh yes, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean,
Faf obviously is the skipper, and Quinton de Kock, if you can get him early before, because if he's in, he's going to. I mean, even in that second innings, he got a 50 at, you know, when they were still
rate, yes.
at a reasonable rate when they were trying to block out the day, you know. And he did give his wicket away, I suppose.
Thank you, Genro. She said it's rather lovely that you're all a bit on the cuddly side.
Cuddly? What do you mean, cuddly?
Any gorilla thinness would only be of the relative variety.
Short, and Pope just ducks underneath it and lets it through. Quinton de Kock ended that over, no run.
And Chris Dealey goes, in response to that.
Does he now?
Yes.
Oh, he's all right.
You're Mr. Loverman. I mean, he's Mr. Loverman when it comes to this, isn't he? I mean, he's low-cut T-shirt. And actually, Chris, if you're listening, you didn't turn up on some T20. You were supposed to turn up at 3 in the morning or something.
Yeah. Where were you at 3 in the morning? I can't imagine where you could be at 3 in the morning, Chris. No idea.
And Messages says, of course, England went from 368 for 4 for 403 all out in that 400 scoring game at Perth.
Sorry, say that again?
England collapsed from 368 for 4 to 403 all out.
See, that could happen here.
So it should have been 520 really, rather than 403. Chris, apparently Knackle has your hat. He's just passed that message on to me. Don't know what that means. I presume it means he's got your hat.
Messages says, falling in love with popes is not good for your health.
No.
Yeah, because he can't reciprocate, can he? He's got to be celibate. So, you know.
The Pope was saying the other day he wants to relax the rules of celibacy.
Oh, and he was being warned not to by various other popes.
Exactly.
Or ex-popes.
Left alone as it's chucked up wide, and there is no run.
Bohemian Gorillas have arrived.
Yeah.
The Bohemian Gorillas.
The svelte.
Svelte. It's the thin version. Slimmed down gorillas.
Yes, these are 2 slim gorillas. Maharaj is in reverse swept, past slip. Is there going to be anyone down there? There is. Yes. It's a man coming around. Who's that? Notkia comes around probably from either deep cover or deep point.
Deep backward point, I think.
Yeah, probably. Cuts off the forward. Stokes reverse swept. Good shot to bring out the locker.
Does Tony know he's coming back in to do... Oh, it's not Tony, it's Knackle. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah.
And 2 runs were accrued there. Stokes moves into the 90s. He's on 91 of 157 balls. 315 for 4. Flat by Maharaj over the wicket. And it's just clipped to mid-wicket. But Elgar is fielding, and there is no run. Pope 72 off 124. And Maharaj, not doing too bad. 1 for 84 off nearly 37. He's into his 38th over. It's a lot of bowling he's done. Just a spinner you like that. Clipped by Stokes, but not with much power. Even though he rolled the wrists, he couldn't beat mid-wicket. There's no run. Good position.
Very good.
Loving it.
Very good. I mean, it's almost too easy. I'm lacking tension.
Well, it's all about England knocking up big scores, we said, and then that's just defended back up the track by Stokes, and there's no run. It's all about if we can get South Africa out.
Well, when you saw the pitch yesterday and how slow it was, you thought, well, England just got to bat and get 500.
Yeah.
But then when you saw Maharaj turning it, you began to think, this could be interesting.
The longer it goes, I suppose, the more it gets into the pitch as well. Now that's heaved. Has he got enough on it? Oh, they've moved Ratty van der Dussen squarer, so it was an easy 4 in the end.
Has that gone for 4 or did he go for 6?
No, it went for 4. Bounced just inside the rope. We're going to have a switcheroo. I'm going to be joined by Knuckle, Annie and Paul.
And this is how you can help Guerrilla Cricket out.
The best things in life are free. Just like Guerrilla Commentary, we need money. That's what I want. Guerrilla Cricket. We need money. I don't like the BBC. I prefer Guerrilla Commentary. I want money. $20 for the archive. That's what I want.
And speaking of money, we should thank Neil Bell, who this morning has become a $15 patron at patreon.com/Guerrilla Cricket. Welcome to the best club in cricket, Neil. You're listening to Guerrilla Cricket's coverage of England's tour of South Africa 2019-20. You join us with half an hour to go of the morning session of day 2. The really rather miffed Kagiso Rabada is in from the Park Drive end, bowling wide outside Ollie Pope's off stump, who flashes this to the deep point fielder. They come through for a single. He's on 73. Stokes onto 95, taking on poor Keshav Maharaj. He brought up his 4,000th test run with that for England, 320 for 4. I'm Knuckle Mpande, taking you through till lunch on Ball by Ball. Annie Chave is over there reading your social media messages, and to my immediate left we've got former Warwickshire treble winner Paul Smith. Enjoying what you're seeing so far from England?
Yeah, they're doing well. It looks pretty ominous. I mean,
slip in a gully and a couple of shortish catches on the offside. Point is quite close and cover's quite close too. This is a slower ball from Kagiso Rabada. Stokes picks it and blocks back to the bowler. There is no run. Ominous. I mean, what have you spotted anything that South Africa have been trying to do this morning? Because I've not been able to find it.
They don't look organised, do they? They don't look disciplined.
Lacklustre, I think. They seem sort of heavy in the field.
It's trying conditions. I mean, there might be the outfield might be wetter than.
Rabada in full outside off sun. It's a lovely shot by Ben Stokes. Just opens the face with that bottom hand and guides it out to between the gully and the backward point. Werner Philander down on the third man boundary field, so they come through for a single. Ben Stokes moves to 96. He's doing a bit of stretching. It is very humid out there. We've seen Kagiso Rabada sweating. We've seen Ben Stokes breathing heavily as well. In theory, though, that should have been, certainly if you're in England, you think, right, cloudy morning, humid, let's go, boys. As a bowler.
You might. It doesn't always follow, though. But, I mean, they've given them... they haven't bowled one side of the wicket. They haven't bowled with much discipline, and they haven't fielded as well as you've seen a lot of South African teams of the past.
No, the South African, it doesn't reach the heights of when you had... Forget Jonty Rhodes, but Herschel Gibbs was a fantastic fielder. A.B. de Villiers, you had that slip cordon with Smith and Callis, absolutely superb. Rabada in, slip in a gully to the right-handed Ollie Pope, back of a length, and Pope just stands up tall and runs this down to third man. Dane Patterson, who we've not seen this morning, bowl just yet. Field, they come through for a single. I mean, you're right, they've been bowling both sides of the wicket. They've also bowled too short, as they did yesterday morning. It's been too easy for England, but huge credit to Stokes and to Ollie Pope, who've been absolutely rattling along this morning. They're scoring, what have they scored? They've scored 224. They scored 98 runs this morning in just over 20 overs and really haven't looked at all troubled.
In the first test, South Africa bowled so much better, didn't they?
Rabada full outside off stump and left alone through to Quinton de Kock. There is no run. And to be fair, in the first innings of the second and the second and third sessions yesterday, especially the second session, they were excellent. Helped by the fact that Keshav Maharaj was able to hold up an end. But we said it when Paul and I were last on. Maharaj came on when Pope and Stokes were already set. They'd got their eye in against the seamers, and it's very difficult for a spinner, even on a turning pitch, when you come on against two set batsmen and you're expected, right, this is on you now. You're the only one.
But you've also added in the equation left-handed, right-handed batters, and also
as Rabada is in short. That ball completely dies in the wicket. I wonder if that was a slower ball trying to dig it into the wicket. Stokes waits and slaps it out to Peter Malan on the cover boundary. They come through for a single. Stokes moves to 97, England 323 for 4. Yeah, a right-hand, left-hand pair, and both very good at rotating the strike.
And also both willing to play big shots if the ball's in the slot to play them.
Yeah, for sure. I do wonder sometimes. I was a spinner and not a particularly good level, but you know, I certainly tried to think like a spinner, and I always preferred being hit for boundaries than being hit for regular singles. You don't mind if you toss the ball up and get hit back over your head for 6, or you bowl a long hop that gets hit for 6, so be it. But bowling a good ball that just gets pushed for a single, there's nothing you can. It's so frustrating because you don't think you can do anything about it.
Yeah, they're frustrating the bowlers, aren't they, these two? Very much so.
And as you say, Paul, South Africa have lost what sense of discipline they had, apart from the long-suffering Keshav Maharaj. Annie, social media.
I have some tweets, yes. Mia Katie says, you've got Annie in today, she's pretty skinny. I'm guessing that you guys were all talking about rather large people.
Yesterday we tried to put together a large but athletic 11.
I see. How's that fine leg says, after Faf recognised Stokes as the man of focus, what plan has that actually been?
Well, we were just talking about that and we couldn't work it out either.
No. County Cricket Matters says, pretty sleepy attitude from South Africa this morning, no fire.
I don't know about no fire. I mean, Rabada's been angry and Nortje's got the ball flying through, but it's just been that lack of discipline. We do have a change at the duck pond, and Maharaj has been emphatically hit out of the attack by Ben Stokes, and on comes a Test debutant.
Have you heard that Patterson? He's a bowler, South African. Favourite Ferret Tutankhamen. He's got a really fine abdomen.
Still searching for his first Test wicket, the 30-year-old Cape Tonian bowling to Ben Stokes, closing in on a 9th Test 100. The ICC Men's Test Cricketer of the Year. Deep point's gone back towards the boundary. I think we've got a slip and a gully, possibly even 2 gullies. No, it is a slip and a gully. A third man point is kind of in a catching position, a cover a mid-off who's set back maybe 5 yards further than they might otherwise be. I'll try and give you the leg side field when I can. Ben Stokes on 97. Faf du Plessis in his secret agent sunglasses at slip, trying to set the field. In comes Dane Patterson, right arm over the wicket. Down the track comes Ben Stokes and blocks this into the onside. Peter Malan fields it wideish mid-on. There is no run. Wonder if Quinton de Kock will come up to the stumps, because Stokes, Patterson is not particularly quick, and Stokes can stand probably a yard and a half outside of his crease with impunity.
I'm just wondering whether the specs he might be seeing into the future, you see, and he knows that he's going to get lots of wickets coming up.
He's
seeing a different future to the rest of us, I think. Patterson in again, Stokes down the track, and those incredibly firm forward defensives of his. That Patterson does well to lunge down to his right and stop the ball. Ollie Pope was diving for cover at the non-striker's end, fearing a run out off the bowler's hand, which is how I got run out in my first ever game of senior cricket without having faced a ball.
Oh, how depressing. Paul, you've been on, you've got a few centuries in your time. What's it feel like on 97 then?
Just keep playing. I mean, you know, there's lots of people who, when they approach a century, change the way that they play, and it affects not only them, but it also affects the team.
Patterson outside off stump, a little hint of swing, nothing major, too wide of off stump. Stokes leaves alone through to the keeper. There is no run.
Yeah, in your book, you say that it's, you know, you were a team player. It was all about the team.
It's got to be about the team. You know, I mean, it's not like tennis where, you know, it's me against you. It's one team against another, and it's what you can bring to the table for your team.
Do you think Stokes is a team player?
Huge.
Saw that in the second innings at Cape Town, didn't we? As Patterson is in down the track and again blocked very firmly back to Dane Patterson, who is perhaps in need of some dental work. Fields off his own bowling. There is no run. I'm sure that contract will come. But yeah, you saw that Ben Stokes came out on that fourth morning at Cape Town when England needed quick runs and just started hitting the ball everywhere from ball one. And as it turns out, England needed every little minute that he could give them.
Yeah, I think he's the ultimate team player, isn't he, really?
Yeah, and there was 100 there for him easily, but he decided to keep hitting because that's what the team needed. The on Hayden has come in as Patterson's in outside off stump. Late cut by Ben Stokes, probably won't be for because Vernon Philander Andrew Nokia, in fact, is down there on the third man boundary. They will come through for 2. Stokes moves to 99. The on Hayden is the Guerrilla Cricket coinage for that short straight fielder, pretty much off on the edge of the cut strip. That's Keshav Maharaj, who's in there. Stokes with 10 fours and 2 sixes in his 99 not out.
Paul, I've got a question for you at the end of this over from somebody. So I'm going to answer. So get ready to answer, all right?
Okay.
Slips come out into that on Hayden position. Stokes again walking down the track at Dane Patterson, who bowls across Ben Stokes. He's bowled to his field, at least, Dane Patterson, with that offside heavy field. Stokes chops down to gully. There is no run. He'll remain on 99, but as kind of I think as you were alluding to, I don't think that'll bother Ben Stokes too much with the position that he and England are in. He's on 99, Pope on 74, 2 away from his highest test score to date, and England 308 for 4.
Okay, so and then your Dutta, who has written quite a few books and has written a lovely article about Brian Lara's 501. He said, I would love to know from Paul how they spent time in the dressing room and their thoughts while Lara went about the next 350 plus runs partnership after Paul got out.
Transfixed. I mean, with that innings, it was a matter of how long can he go on, and how can you keep scoring as fast as that, so many runs per over, and it just keep happening, because you have spells of play where you may have a 10-minute, 15-minute spell where the ball seems to be flying to all parts, but it just kept going on and on and on, and it went on for hours. So to sit
hours
and
watch
it, well, to sit and watch it was a privilege. I mean, that's why you play.
Yep.
I mean, if you're in the company of such people, if you don't enjoy that, you don't enjoy anything.
We do have a change. Maharaj has switched the park drive end. I'll give him a jingle in a second. He bowls round the wicket to Ollie Pope, but flights this up very nicely, and Pope blocks to short extra cover. There is no run off the bowling of this man. First time he's bowled at this end in this test. Tossed up by Maharaj, slightly beat Ollie Pope in the flight. He had to adjust his shot to the Surrey right-hander, and the squirts off the outside part of the bat back to the bowler. There is no run. Maharaj, I think, will be slightly happier bowling to Ollie Pope rather than the increasingly murderous Ben Stokes. Much fuller and flatter, less loop to it, and Pope blocks out basically a half volley to cover. There is no run. Slip in place, Zubair Hamza.
So back to the Brian Lara. Was there ever any chance that they were going to? Sorry, hold on.
Maharaj is in, floats this up very nicely. A little bit of drift and turn. Nothing as extravagant as we've seen from the other end, from the duck pond end, but a little bit. Pope blocks on the bounce to short, straight, extra cover. There is no run. Maharaj does get through his overs pretty quickly, bowling from mid-crease. Tosses this up. A lovely drift from Keshav Maharaj. He's really trying to give the ball a rip. Pope drives inside out to cover. There is no run. Not easy to have conversation when spinners are bowling.
No.
As Maharaj is in, last ball of the over, a little bit shorter. Pope blocks from the crease, covering the spin. A maiden from Keshav Maharaj. Mild relief for South Africa, 325 for 4 England.
Yeah, they certainly get through their overs quicker, don't they, with the spinner on? No, that's good.
You were mid-question, Annie.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if... was there ever any sense that he was going to get to that sort of score, or were you just kind of...
Well, I mean, once he asked what's the world record, and we told him Hanif Mohammed 499.
You did?
Yeah. Then we knew it was game on, and we knew that if anyone was capable of doing it based on what we knew about Brian mentally, as well as what he could do on the field.
Patterson bowling to Stokes on 99. Again, Patterson bowling to that heavily reinforced offside field with that gully, with those 2 catchers kind of at point, with that cover, with that third man. Stokes blocks to the straighter of the 2-point fielders. There is no run. Quinton de Kock yet to come up to the stumps. In fact, there's a deep point back as well. So there's gully, third man, deep point, backward point, cover point, extra cover, mid-off, mid-wicket, and I think probably a man at long leg as well. Patterson is in over the wicket. Down the track comes Stokes, and well bowled by Dane Patterson. Drew his length back a little bit, went wider outside Stokes' off stump, and blocked back to the bowler. There is no run. But Stokes is almost batting halfway down the wicket to Dane Patterson.
I know, he looks so fit, doesn't he?
De Kock's got to come up to the stumps here. It's taking any possibility of swing out of the equation, and that is Dane Patterson's modus operandi. It's what he's been picked for. Quentin de Kock is easily a good enough keeper to come up to the stumps. Mid-on's coming a little bit closer now, Pieter Milan. Driven through the offside, and that is Ben Stokes' 9th Test 100. He'll take the single. 100 off 174 balls. Another very fine innings by a very, very fine player.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100.
Congratulations, sir. You are a centurion.
A now trademark mix of discipline, stroke making, and at times brutality from Ben Stokes. As I say, his 9th Test 100, 10 fours and 2 sixes. This is a man in rare form.
Yeah, it's fine innings, isn't it? Yeah, do we know how his dad is, by the way?
Better, we understand, more stable. Yeah, Ben Stokes' dad, Jed, former rugby league player, was taken ill before the start of the series, was in intensive care, but we understand is recovering well. And Ben Stokes put a very heartfelt message out thanking everyone for their well wishes. But we should just take a moment to celebrate what a very fine innings this has been from Ben Stokes in conditions that certainly yesterday weren't easy.
I wouldn't rule him out getting 200.
What about 500?
I was going to ask about that actually. Patterson strikes Ollie Pope on the pad, and he's been given. Dane Patterson does have his first Test wicket. Pope might well review, but I'm not sure he'll be able to be saved by that. England do have 2 reviews left. He walked quite a long way across his stumps. He was struck on middle and off stump. Stokes is practically reviewing for Ollie Pope here. They do eventually review it. I think, though, that this might not have a lot going for it in terms of for Ollie Pope. He was hit on the knee roll. He was slightly outside of his crease, but I think this is hitting the top of middle stump.
Broad said, you could see Broad in the thing saying it went over.
Broad cannot be trusted on reviews, as we all know. That's a decent delivery from Dane Patterson bowling to the right-hander. He's got a very offside dominant field as well, so Pope was trying to manufacture a shot into the leg side. He's been hit in front of middle stump, not that far outside of his crease, on the knee roll, on the front pad. Paul, what do you think?
I'm watching what's on the screen. I'm not convinced.
I think it's quite high.
It's certainly no bat involved. It's hit him in line. It is sliding down leg.
Oh.
Possibly more by luck than judgment. A good decision to review from Ollie Pope and Ben Stokes. Umpire Oxenford has got that one wrong. Dane Patterson does not have his first Test wicket. One might say that's why Paul Smith was a treble winner, and that's why I'm here. But fair call. I thought that was hitting. I thought that was hitting sort of middle and leg stump, but no, just sliding down leg. Ollie Pope got just enough across his stumps on that occasion, but certainly a moral victory for Dane Patterson. He struck him again inside edge into somewhere possibly uncomfortable for Ollie Pope, but dribbles out into the offside. There is no run. Patterson's bowling pretty well to a pretty unforgiving 7-2 field. Oh, no inside edge, direct hit. Ollie Pope doesn't even grimace. Made of stern stuff.
Looked rather uncomfortable.
Well, indeed, but he doesn't seem overly affected by it, which is remarkable, really. Last ball of what's been a pretty good over from Dane Patterson. He's in. Bowls slightly more outside off stump and slightly fuller. Pope blocks to Keshav Maharaja extra cover, but Patterson a little bit unlucky on that occasion in this over not to get a first Test wicket. By far the best over he's bowled. England 326 for 4.
I better get onto some tweets. Martin Lawrence says, Annie and Knuckle, 2 of my favourite commentators on together again. Also, hello Paul, welcome to the club.
Hello.
Phil Jones says, if Pope gets to 321 runs, 93 not out, he will have the second highest average of a non-Centurion who has played in 6 or more matches. Thank you for that.
Thank you for that incredibly niche stat. I like that.
Yeah, it's a very good one. Martin Lawrence says, my predicted text on my iPad must know I'm a cricket fan because when I type the name Paul, the next word it suggests is Collingwood. Chris the Choir says, they may have halted grade inflation, but this is an A star commentary tune. Unusually slim, too. Thank you, Chris the Choir.
Thank you. And on our colleague's behalf, screw you. Kesha Maharaj is going to continue wheeling himself into the ground, this time at the Park Drive end rather than the Duck Pond end where he's been operating all of this test match. He's in round the wicket to Stokes, balls very wide outside off stump. Stokes takes a couple of steps outside off stump, thinking of smashing him over the leg side. Leaves alone through to the keeper, though there is no run. Stokes batting on exactly 100. Maharaj bowls one slightly more into Stokes' hitting arc, but holds it back a little bit. The Stokes forced to defend, comes off the outside part of the bat on the bounce to slip, and there is no run.
I've got an interesting tweet from Chris Paul, but I'll ask in a minute.
Plenty of men back on the leg side. It's a split offside leg side field, 4 and 5 respectively. This is well outside off stump. Stokes leaves alone through to the keeper. On the offside we've got a slip, a third man, a cover and a mid off in position. Maharaj tosses this up outside off stump, and that's punched through the gap by Ben Stokes, a little bit too short, and with no one in front of square at cover. Kesha, the downside of this field is revealed. Ben Stokes picks up 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just do wonder about that. Bowling very wide outside off stump. Maharaj has so little margin for error there. If he drops, as we see, that wasn't even that short, and it's so easy for Ben Stokes to
just not troubling him at
punch
all,
it through
is it?
cover.
No.
But I feel increasingly sorry for Kesha Maharaj, in truth. On the leg side, we've got a short fine leg, an orthodox mid wicket, a man back at deep square leg, and I think a man back at long on as well. There's been no change to the field. If anything, point has moved even further behind square. Maharaj in, tosses this up outside off stump, a little bit of turn, but Stokes was bodily about 1.5 foot outside off stump, and so there's no danger of that being given out. LBW, it's not turning back that much. There is no run. Last ball of the over. Kesha Maharaj getting a little bit of respite from Ben Stokes. Ooh, flicks that very fine, Ben Stokes indeed, very nicely manufactured. Only a single into the leg side. Dane Patterson comes runs back towards the boundary to field from short fine leg. They come through for a single. Stokes on 105, Pope on 74, England 3-3-1 for 4.
Okay, so Chris Paul asks, can you guys help? He's working on drugs and booze scandal test 11. Not mentioning tragedies and deaths. Very unbalanced though, no wicket keepers. He's got bowlers all round us: Flintoff, Stokes, Botham, Lewis, Reeve, Tufnell, Warne, Nash, Asif, Sohab. Batting, Hales and Fleming. Any ideas?
Yeah, it's true that. Yeah.
These wicket keepers are just too clean, aren't they?
Wicket keepers who've had.
Is that what you've heard?
Yes, that's what I've heard. That's what they all tell me. Any scandalous wicket keepers?
I'm trying to think. There must have been some back in the day. I don't know if Rod Marsh ever had anything. He was just more of a drinker, wasn't he? I think.
Come on, Paul. You must know some dodgy ones.
Once I think about that, I might have to crowdsource that one.
I don't know if I want to end up in court if I'm...
Dane Patterson bowling to Stokes with this ring of catchers square on the offside. A little bit of movement back into the bat this time. Stokes doesn't know where the ball has gone. Where it's gone is off the inside edge, very fine. And Ollie Pope scored him through for the second, almost lapping Ben Stokes to Kotkaz to do his own, do the fielding. Stokes to 107 off that inside edge.
I think if that's that person who tweeted that, was it a tweet?
Yeah.
I think if you do your homework, I think you'll find one or two.
That's Paul definitely not trying to put someone in trouble.
Can't drop anyone in it.
No, yeah, please keep it to stuff that's in the public domain, please. We don't have a legal budget. Patterson in, well wide of off stump. Ben Stokes leaves alone through to the keeper. There is no run. Finally, albeit in slightly contrived manner with this 7-2 offside field, South Africa have exerted a measure of control over proceedings. Probably too late.
I think it looks ominous, this. I said 400 before the start of play. I'd be pretty disappointed if you didn't get more than 400 from here.
You'd think, yeah, probably, what,
You said 420.
I was saying
didn't
425.
I said 450.
Yeah, we've had various things in that range. Of course, if you do want to predict what's going on, the GPL is still open until the end of this session. You've got 4 minutes. We've had a few entries, most of which I think a couple of which are already too low. Hombre Nuevo went in with 137, which I think is almost been overtaken already. But yeah, go to GorillaCricket.com/competition. Follow the on-screen instructions. You've got 4 minutes. Back of a length from Dane Patterson and Stokes. Content to just nudge this into the onside with probably only this and maybe 2 more overs after this, depending on how quickly Maharaj gets through his overs before lunch.
Stokes looks hot.
Yeah, it's pretty warm out there. It's closing on 30 degrees and very humid as well.
The humidity is like 76.
70-something%, yeah.
What's it here then? I don't know. I can't get the equivalent. I wouldn't know what that was.
Let's have a look. It's pretty dry out there, I think, in these South London winters of ours.
I think the humidity in South Africa is... Durban is incredibly humid.
As Patterson in Stokes comes down the track again, slightly off the inside part of the bat as he tries to drive through cover. He does slightly close the face too early every now and again. Up to mid-on it goes. There is no... apparently it's 81% humidity here, which seems unlikely.
Okay.
I think that's probably not right.
Perhaps it's very steamy in this room.
My forecast is not that specific.
Okay.
Ben Stokes is now the leading run scorer in this series. It's 3 England players leading the way. Dominic Sibley in second. Joe Root in 3. Quinton de Kock just 1 short of the 200 runs for the series. And Joe, he's done all right. Denley at number 5.
Joe, he's done all right.
Interesting cricketer, Joe Denley, in England colours. Stokes walks across outside off stump, but Patterson adjusts by going very wide outside off stump. Stokes leaves alone through to the keeper. There is no run.
So you say Durban's quite humid.
Incredibly humid,
What's Cape... Because you spent most of your time in Cape Town, didn't you?
Cape Town is hot. Just hot.
Just hot.
I think the whole of the Cape is generally pretty dry, certainly in the last few years. I think this is unusual for the Cape. The Eastern Cape's been in drought conditions for the last few years, and I don't know if you saw a few years ago footage of the Cape Town reservoir was basically dry.
Yeah.
There was someone standing in the reservoir, and there was just a puddle at their feet.
Sure. Restrictions on taps, isn't it?
Yeah, still in place in the Eastern Cape. Full outside off stump, and this ball completely loses interest on the way through to Quinton de Kock. He takes it on the 3rd bounce outside off stump. There is no run. A tight, if unthreatening, over from Dane Patterson. Probably one over left till lunch. England 333 for 4.
Do they have many lakes in South Africa?
How do you define a lake?
I don't know. That's a good question. How does one define a lake?
Yeah. But the thing is, you mustn't forget you're in Africa, yeah. So because of the heat, it's you can lose water fast, and they obviously have, particularly in the Cape. I got plenty of friends in the Cape and talk about lack of water.
It just kind of, even if there's any rainfall, it just burns off.
Just evaporates.
Yeah, I used to work with a number of South Africans, mostly from Cape Town, and exactly the same thing. They were basically doing rain dances for a couple of years. Pope comes down the track slightly and pushes Keshav Maharaj to the deepish set mid-on and takes a very good single. Probably the single didn't need to be as quick as it was, but Pope is very alert to those opportunities to rotate strike. He moves to 75.
And still young enough to be fast after this long innings.
It must be nice batting with Ben Stokes when you're in this mood, as I guess it must have been batting with Brian Lara. Kind of a lot of the pressure is off you at the other end.
Yeah, I think the fact that the scoreboard is rotating the whole time, moving forward, that obviously takes pressure, but I think the key to it is this continuous pressure on bowlers to bowl dot balls, and as we've seen this morning, they've struggled to do that.
Maharaj is in, slipping a backward short leg now. He's moved slightly further behind square. This is outside off stump from Keshav Maharaj. Stokes blocks off the back foot. There is no run. There's an element sometimes of slightly taking the piss with Ben Stokes' defensive shots. He's so in control of himself that he's saying, I could smash you for 6, but I'm not going to. Malamu's a little bit further in front of square, or pretty much level with the square leg umpire at short leg. Stokes clips this in front of square, fielded by the man at squarish mid-wicket. There is no run. The England balcony looking particularly less happy with proceedings than you might imagine given the state of the
They
game.
look relaxed, I think.
Fourth ball of the over. Stokes stretches forward outside off stump. Maharaj continuing to give it some air, continuing to give it some loop, which is good to see. He's bowled very bravely, I think, today, Keshav Maharaj, and yesterday too. There is no run. 2 balls left of what has been emphatically England's session. Stokes just making sure that there are 2 balls. Oh no, he's changing his guard to middle and leg because Maharaj has come over the wicket now, seeing if there's any footmarks, perhaps trying to tuck up Ben Stokes. Try and see the field actually.
They're not showing you it, though, are
Hamza's
they?
moved a little bit wider at Steve. Actually, maybe Maharaj is just going to hang this outside Stokes' off stump. Yes, he is from round the wicket. A little bit too full, and Stokes can defend easily to Dean Elgar at straightish mid-wicket. There is no run. Last ball of the first session of day 2 is a leg delivery, which Stokes goes back to and turns past Peter Malan at short leg. Patterson comes in from deep final leg to field. They come through for a single, and England have been absolutely emphatic this morning. How many runs have they added this morning? 3, 3, 5, take 2, 2, 4. They've added 111 runs in the 27 overs we've had this morning. That's going over 4 and over. Ben Stokes has gone to his 9th Test 100. Ollie Pope has gone to his highest Test match score of 75. He's equalled his highest Test match score. He's on 75. Ben Stokes 108 not out. South Africa, really barring Keshav Maharaj and barring that bit of control from Dane Patterson at the end, bowling one side of the wicket, have lacked plans. They've lacked discipline. They allowed England to be really comfortable this morning, as they did yesterday morning. And Stokes and Pope have made them pay. And England at 335 for 4 at lunch on day 2 are in a very, very strong position indeed.
Yeah, I think, like Paul said, the lack of dot balls has taken the pressure off the batsmen, and it's definitely on the bowlers now.
But now it's kind of damage limitation for South Africa to some extent, isn't it?
Yeah, I think. Well, they've got to. I mean, they've got to regroup at lunchtime and come back out with a lot of discipline and try and stop England scoring. They're approaching 200 partnership here.
They will have been. When did these two come together? We've seen the partnership records tumble. 187 runs between these two. 3.58 and over, so scoring pretty quickly and pretty fluently. And they've gone through the gears or they've swapped roles a little bit. Pope was scoring much more fluently yesterday, and Stokes was just solid. But when Stokes picked up the pace this morning, South Africa couldn't live with him at all. No wickets this morning. Keshav Maharaj has kept wheeling away and has come back up well after a bit of a mauling by Ben Stokes. He's taken 1 wicket for 95 and has bowled a lot better than that. Anrican Orkia, I think, has bowled better than his 1 for 78 suggests. Kagiso Rabada, who is angry and fired up, but a little bit indisciplined, unusually so for him, 2 for 70. Werner Philander, a little bit ineffective, none for 28. And Dane Patterson, no wickets as well. Pretty ineffective yesterday, but today has at least given South Africa a modicum of control, but perhaps too late. We'll rattle through some tweets very quickly, and then we'll go to some archive footage. In fact, we'll probably play the podcast that Paul and Tony did the other day.
Arthur Patricia says it's okay. Knackle tweets, jingles and ball by ball is the real cricket treble. Aidan says, wasn't Adam Paror a bit of a naughty boy?
Adam Parora, the New Zealander.
Was he?
I mean, he was noticeably chirpy. I know a lot of the Australian players really didn't like Adam Parora, but
climbed he climbed Mount Everest, didn't he?
Did he? I didn't know that.
He has, yeah.
Wow.
Impressive.
Come on, Paul. Statutes of limitations must have run out of most of the stuff you want to tell us, says Leah. Martin Lawrence says, how many players have had their first wicket taken away by DRS or the no ball check after a wicket? I can think of a few. Tom Curran, Mark Woods and Clint McKay I can think of straight away. That's a question we'll have to think about and get back to you probably.
MS Dhoni had Kevin Peterson LBW once, and it turned out to be a no ball, so he was denied a test wicket.
Jesse Alderson says Keith Piper for wicketkeeper was suspended for spliff, if I recall correctly. Do you know that? Oh, you wouldn't like to say?
Well, not undoubtedly, he was pulled to task over that. Yeah.
Chris Paul says Shazad, he got banned. I've done my homework.
Oh, Mohammed Shazad, yeah. Although he was banned for a drug offence. Yeah, but he got taken out of the Afghanistan squad, and still to this day nobody knows why during the World Cup.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Dave Wood says, what was Keith Piper banned for? So
piping, apparently.
Yes.
For being a naughty boy, people do worse. Hopefully he learnt his lesson. But he was certainly a very, very fine wicketkeeper.
Sure, he's
on any stage.
Sure, he's an upstanding pillar of the community these days, Keith Piper. That us up to date on the social media.
One more, Darren McKay says, I can't believe it's happened again. England finished the day with batsmen well set, and they then managed to survive the first hour of the morning and push on. Epic scenes. Absolutely, it is quite unusual.
It's almost as though Ben Stokes and Ollie Pope are really rather quite good.
Yes.
Ben Stokes is pivotal.
Yep.
Absolutely pivotal.
The stature that he now has in this England team and in the world game.
Yeah, it's massive.
He's not quite as totemic yet as Jacques Kallis was for South Africa, but he is one of those players. You kind of get the sense, a little bit like South Africa have had to pick 2 players to replace Jacques Kallis when he retired, and one suspect it might be the same with Ben Stokes if he keeps this rate going. His rate of improvement, his rate of learning as well, for someone that good is really, really impressive. But yeah, he has held this innings together along with Ollie Pope and has taken England from a position that was a little bit wobbly after tea yesterday into a position where they're looking at 450 plus and putting South Africa into a position where they will be chasing the game well and truly. But we'll get off air here live, so we'll have a break from live Paul Smith and we'll go to recorded Paul Smith. Join us in half an hour or so for the second session.